Yeah, I threw it on my story, and quite a few people were like, "Oh, I'm excited," but I'm also gonna put it on in my Discord right now.
I'm just gonna
Yeah, I threw
spam
it on
my own followers yet again.
my story,
The
and quite a
disciples.
few people were like, "Oh, I'm excited," but I'm also gonna what are your followers called? Martineers or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, I threw it on my
Martineers. That sounds good,
my
actually.
story,
The
and quite a
disciples.
few people were like, "Oh, I'm excited," but I'm also gonna what are your
There's
followers
some.
called? Martineers or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, I threw it on my
Martineers. That sounds
Alright.
good,
my
actually.
story,
Oh
and
dear.
quite a few people were like,
Can
"Oh, I'm
everybody
excited,"
mute
but I'm
themselves real
also
quick?
what are your
There's
followers
some.
called?
Yeah.
Martineers or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, I threw it on my
Martineers. That sounds
Alright.
good,
my
actually.
story,
Oh dear.
quite a few
Oh,
people were like,
can
"Oh,
I'm an
I'm excited."
idiot. I am such a moron. I'm such a moron. I'm sorry. I had the stream going and I was playing audio and I was really confused at the cacophony of sounds. You guys can unmute yourselves. It's
Okay.
like, what the fuck? It was very unnerving.
It's terrifying. I can understand.
Yeah. Let's see. We got precisely 0 people in the audience here. Let me get my stream loaded up on my phone and then we can officially get started.
Yeah, I'm just like still
Let's go.
getting the stream up so I can send it to people who are on my Instagram.
Yep.
Hey, if no one comes in, that's fine. I live stream to like no one for years, and we also like we'll have a good conversation and we can throw it up somewhere afterwards. So
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
I
gonna be
mean-
people watching on YouTube regardless. So
yeah,
We have a whole 5 legends watching this right now.
let's
Yeah, man.
go.
Just put it in the title in all caps, like 100% off on some of my Gumroad stuff.
Mhm.
Like, get them in here. First 5 people.
yeah.
Lure
I
them.
mean, the struggles of being a small YouTuber, right? Trying to get
Yeah.
some audience retention.
At the same
that being
time,
said,
it's also chill, you know.
yeah,
No stress.
yeah, man, it's super neat. Only talking to like 5 people is like a lot easier than talking to 1,500.
Yeah.
Anyways, Cov, you were on last week, so I think let's have Maarten.
Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself first, and then Cov, and I'll do a quick introduction.
All right. Yeah, I can. Okay, I'll start. Yeah, so I'm basically pretty new to this whole Blender YouTube space, of course, but I have a big background in film and photography, which is basically what I worked in for a few years. And then I use Blender. I mainly like got into Blender as like a really young kid, just trying to get like a 3D intro for my YouTube channel when I was still like doing gaming videos. But this was like back in like the 2.7 days, and of course it was pretty difficult to use. And yeah, basically when 2.8 released, I remember there was a lot of hype around it, and I of course heard of it, so I decided to open Blender yet again, and basically found out that it was very usable all of a sudden, and started using it a lot next to my job as a content creator for this company. And at some point I started shifting into creating product photography like in Blender, in not with actual camera, which was a bit overdone, of course, because using a camera and just taking a picture of an item is way easier than doing it in 3D. But I kind of fell in love with 3D, so that's how I kind of got into it. And then I basically just stayed in the shadows, the shadow realm of Blender users. I didn't share my stuff, or at least I didn't really put it out there a lot until very recently when some people started asking for tutorials, and I decided like, okay, I'll share in a video how I do my stuff, and that kind of, well, not blew up, but people were very interested, so I decided to keep going with it. And so that's me as a Blender user, Blender creator.
Mm-hmm. I've got your ArtStation pulled up just so the viewers can see sort of some of your work.
Okay, well,
It's impressive stuff. I'm jealous.
honestly, that's the funny part. I actually, as an artist, always was looking for people in Blender who were doing stuff I loved, which is environment work. And like for me, environments have always been my main, like the thing I loved most. I think you can see in my work, like I started out doing environments, which I was not prepared for, and then went to product stuff, and then came back to environment work. And like the problem was always like there was no real course or like no real good video that did like not realistic environments, should I say, but like there's this style that I do where it's like kind of like fantasy but in the realm of realism, I guess.
Yeah, this
Um,
is like a perfect example of that. I haven't really seen many terrains on Earth that really look like this, but you look at it and you get the
Immersive.
impression it's real. Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of what I was trying to do, but that's more like I think a more of an industry thing where like 3ds Max or Houdini is used in this kind of sense,
Mm-hmm.
and Blender for the longest time was pretty much unable to do it, but then with the geometry nodes and stuff that came out, a lot more has become available, and with that, the funny thing is I found Cov's channel like literally I think maybe a week or two before I did my tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found him on ArtStation at some point and I saw all his like landscapes and I was like, what there was this guy doing the thing I wanted to do all this time and I didn't know. So yeah, that was pretty funny. That like at the yeah, basically the start of my tutorial, whatever, I finally found somebody else who was also doing the same, yeah, sort of thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And then of course, getting texted by you guys, I was like, that was pretty sick.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we messaged you like around the same time, I think, but completely unrelated.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
literally, it was that. It's like really weird how it all fell into place.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I found your channel and everything like right as I was starting my own channel, more seriously. So yeah, that was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, as you can see, my work is environments, products, and like architecture or archviz, whatever you call it. That's basically where the money comes in because nobody is paying me for those fantasy videos.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I wish, but that's not the reality. Most people just want commercial stuff. So ArcViz is a nice way to put in my environment skills when the focus is actually on the building, of course.
For sure.
Yeah, I actually have a question. Have you guys, because I know you guys do amazing renders and that kind of stuff, but what's your commercial experience like? Because it's kind of weird. I'm a business student, so I always
Oh,
kind of
really?
look, yeah, I'm not an artist at all in like background. I'm a business student. I have like zero art schooling, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
So I've always like looked at like the business side of 3D, like how can we
That's
actually
cool. I mean, that's ought to be really helpful though.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, I have to at some point, make enough money to, sustain myself. So that's of
Yeah.
course always been a thing that I thought about with 3D is like, where's the money? Of
Yeah,
course, you can
yeah.
go work in a studio, but
Yeah,
next to
that's
that,
my goal.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you don't mind me going first for this question.
Yeah.
So I went to college for like a semester as a physics major,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided I just couldn't do school. So ever since then, for these past few months, I've been working on building my portfolio to get into the industry. I love this breakdown, by the way. It's really cool. It's just from being like a world creator landscape that you can sort of tell to like being something that you wouldn't expect with
Yeah, your
CG.
breakdowns are really awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my editing coming in. So I think it's nice that I have an editing background, and like an After Effects background. Like I did 2D animation and motion graphics before I did 3D. So
Yeah.
I've always had the ability to always edit and like stuff together. I mean, it's not all. Sometimes I just like quickly throw it into Premiere, and just throw it out there. I
Yeah.
don't want to spend too much time on it, but I definitely have had some breakdowns where I like went extra and did little fade ins and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
people really appreciate the breakdown stuff.
Yeah, I need to get better at that. I do my like cloud layer breakdowns, which I think are pretty cool, but those aren't as flashy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Anyways,
it's
uh,
yeah. Continue with your
you're asking about like 3D business experience. So I worked with Melody Sheep for that was like my first real gig. I did a couple shots with them.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that was where I sort of got my foot into like the freelance world. And then I've been doing freelance for a little while just to try and earn some money. And I get a decent amount of money from my Patreon. Obviously not enough to really make a living, but like between selling projects and Patreon, like it's a some extra pocket money.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's definitely a nice thing to have as a freelancer to have like this Patreon or like Gumroad or whatever to give you a tiny bit of extra cash that's just coming in.
yeah. But
Yeah, for sure.
recently I've been working with some foundations, and I might end up working with a small
Hmm.
studio in the coming weeks. I still
Okay.
get
Oh,
to
that's
hear
sick.
back for them.
Let's go. Let's
Not
go.
like a full time stuff, but like on a contract, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah, but that's a good start.
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah. I eventually want to get my foot in the door in like the industry, um, because I think that, I mean, obviously there's a whole bunch of BS that comes with that, but that's ultimately the most stable. I don't really like doing freelance stuff.
In
It's
Oh
just,
yeah.
film?
yeah, in film.
Yeah, yeah.
I can definitely, like, I've done a fair amount of freelance work in 3D, and I could definitely share all my tips to the audience and all that kind of stuff. And it's a struggle. So I think I'm lucky. I have like parents who did like freelance, or like had their own companies and stuff. And of course, I have my own business study that I can take experience from.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's a lot of, like, you realize that being a good artist almost doesn't matter when you're doing freelance. You need to be good at selling yourself and, of course, standing up for yourself when it comes to working with clients.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So yeah, that's a I can definitely understand you wanting to go and work in the industry, like, at a company more than
Yeah.
freelancing in
Because
this
then,
world. It's a
because then
it's a
you,
tough gig.
yeah, because then you have people that deal with bratty clients for you.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also stuff. I mean, as again, I said industry BS. Anyways, I'll let Cummings with answer this
Yeah.
if he wants.
I can't believe you were doing physics. That explains a lot, though.
Yeah,
That
honestly.
explains a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a physics boy. I still
yeah.
study it,
That's
just not formally.
okay. That's cool. That's badass.
Yeah, that's where I learned all
Um,
my rendering engine knowledge and stuff from. Sorry, I'll
oh,
let you
really? It came
answer.
from, we're using Blender?
So I studied in quotes. I did a lot of research about optics and stuff to figure out how light works, and that allowed me
Okay.
to sort of do my rendering engine inside Blender weird stuff that I'm not really known for it, but I mean it is a useful trick. So that certainly helped elevate the work.
Cool.
Mm. Yeah, okay, yeah, no, but it just makes sense, like, with your, like, tutorials and breakdowns. It makes sense you have a background like that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, Cov, let's hear it.
Yeah.
What's your freelance experience like, or commercial
So
experience?
I've just basically stayed away from, well, I guess if you go all the way back, I was about to go to college, had live streamed. I dropped out of high school to live stream on Twitch. And so I was doing that. And then I was going to go to college. And right when COVID was starting.
Hmm.
And my friend recommended to me Unity. And I started playing around and making worlds and things. They were really crappy looking, but it was super fun. Then I found Ian Hubert.
Mm.
Of course, everyone has the day they
Everyone.
found Ian Hubert. It's like 9/11.
Facts.
Everyone remembers the day.
Yes.
And and then that was bad actually. And then uh yeah, and then I just basically fell in love with Blender and kind of went immediately into environment work because I am a gamer and it made sense to me to go into like props, and I want to do weapons and stuff. I haven't really gotten to weapons yet, but hard surface and environments is where I focus.
Okay.
Um, even though I'm kind of basically trying to gather the skills, all the skills that goes into filmmaking.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Um,
I definitely saw that in your work. Like, when I saw your
yeah,
ArtStation page, I was so impressed by, like, the wide variety of different types of shots you've done.
yeah, it's
So,
really important for me to like be all over the place.
yeah, no, for sure. That's super impressive.
I'd like
Yeah,
to quickly touch on the fact, just while I'm noticing this, both of y'all's works are, a lot of them are like completely photorealistic, but they're in kind of a different way, right?
I think it's like
yeah,
I mean, it's a 3D way. It's
Yeah.
you apply all the knowledge you have of photorealism, but at the same time, you still want your image to look crisp and good.
Hmm.
Of course, if you want real photorealism, your camera be, I don't know, moving more, to be motion blur, there'd be like more discrepancies in your image. And I think that's the thing with 3D. We spend like a month on an image, so we want the
Hmm.
viewer to see as much of our work. So we don't want to hide too much with, like, like, yeah, realistic things that would be like.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the thing where it's like 3D realism is often not completely photoreal, and that's just purely because we don't want to hide our image that we worked so hard on.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, I think it's cool because you could reverse engineer that and hide your stuff and obscure it with grain and noise and camera movement and stuff, and
Oh yeah, for
um,
sure. That's why,
make it look
like,
more realistic.
yeah, because like I made those mountains, right? And I say photoreal texturing. Now I realize that if you look at my mountain and you just eye it down for like an hour, you're gonna be like, yeah, that's not real. But the
Yeah,
thing
Yeah.
is, imagine you're shooting, let's say, some footage, and I don't know, the background is just a clear sky, and you want to add some mountains there and whatever not. You know, my mountains in the background of such an image definitely would look,
would
you know,
totally
real.
pass. Yeah,
Nobody would like blink or at that, because it's just a background
definitely.
item. So that's the thing with like photorealism. It's definitely like, yeah, we have to do a trade-off of like how much of our image we want to be fully inside, and then
Yeah,
how much you want to kind of hide with grain, blurriness, motion blur, whatever.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
But
for
then, so
sure.
basically, like, I guess if I go back to the question,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
kind of just like it's ingrained in me to not really like I've never really wanted to work for anyone, so I've stayed away from freelance as hard as I can, and I have zero experience with it. Like I've never worked for anyone. I've never made an image for
Mm-hmm.
anyone other than myself. But I was kind of banking on the YouTube, hoping that was going to work. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, when the first video like got a bunch of views, I was like, okay, will actually work. And then now I'm working for CG Boost to make a course. So it kind of worked out, and I don't have to do
Yeah.
freelance.
Let's go. Let's
But
go.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Okay, well, so yeah, I guess I'm then the only one that's done some fair amount of freelancing. But honestly, you guys are like, it's all good because freelancing it's definitely a component of a lot of stress in my life.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
It's working with clients, and like, I love them. Thank you for paying me. Thank you for, keeping the lights on. But there's definitely, especially with 3D, there's definitely an amount of, like, I would say, disrespect towards the job. Um, and then there's also just an
mm,
amount of complete ignorance. A lot of clients will ask stuff from you that is so insane as a 3D artist to hear. But for them, it's just like the most complete normal, request they've ever made. So, for example, recently, I'm actually like going to be doing like a background for like this conference, and they have like big screens or big projectors, and they
yeah,
want to have all these cool animations or whatever, right, for the intro and that kind of stuff. And I was asked if I could do a photorealistic human and that kind of stuff and animate them. And I'm
uh,
just like, bro, Disney can't even do photoreal humans.
yeah,
Like, I am sorry, but like, we can do a 3D human. That's definitely,
yeah,
that's definitely fine. But no, like, that's the thing with these clients. They actually come from like a film world. Like, it's like a film studio that's asking me to do the 3D parts for this conference. And like, yeah, they just come at it with such a relaxed mindset. They're like, oh yeah, the 3D guy can, do it all. It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
that's definitely wild as a freelancer, where you have to really start learning how to communicate with these people, and like slowly explain every little thing in 3D. It's like,
yeah,
hey, we can't just, pop in a photo or a human. You need to animate such a person. So, you can hire an animator, but we also need like, a model. We need a rig. We need all this. We need good lighting, good textures. You,
yeah.
you
Like,
know, they don't
how do you tell
understand.
them that it's not possible and they're dumb but be nice at the same time?
Yes, that's a big part of like freelancing, and that's also, I think, a reason for me to, because you guys, of course, have expressed that you guys definitely want 3D as like, you're interested in like working with it and like trying to, earn a living with it. And
Hmm.
like for me, I think I'm of course I've done other stuff and studying and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like I actually currently have a job lined up in the future that's completely not related to 3D, and it's purely because I feel the same way as you guys, where I don't necessarily want to do all that explaining. I don't
Yeah,
constantly want to have to, work around, clients and that kind of stuff. I like to do
Yeah.
3D as a big hobby.
Yeah.
And then I'd rather just work doing a different job to make the money and then do 3D and have, a love for the craft that I'm actually doing.
Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely one of my fears if I were to work in 3D either with a studio, which I think would be cooler, but also especially freelance, is I would be afraid that it would ruin 3D for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, that's
so
that's that's a real
yeah,
that's definitely a real thing that you can definitely expect that it will take the fun and like amazement you have in 3D. uh, once clients start asking certain things, and imagine the worst thing is when they ask something of you that will make the image look worse, but they just want that for some reason. They're just like, nope, I
yeah,
want this. And even though
yeah,
you can be like, oh well, from an artistic perspective you probably don't want that, and they're stubborn, then you just have to make your image ugly, and that's a painful one.
I want that.
yeah,
that's that's definitely one of the worst things to do. But
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the
It
same
feels it
time,
feels kind of awful, but they are paying you, so
yeah, at the same time they're paying you. So when that money hits your bank account and it's like
it feels
you
good.
sat behind your computer for like 2 weeks and you made $4,000, you're like, all right, I'm rich, let's go. So
yeah,
it's
I do love having an excuse to actually use render farms and such
oh
because like
yeah,
paid for.
that's
Um,
definitely too.
like for instance, I'm going to be making some renders of these nebulae,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these are like, as you can imagine, pretty hard to render on a single machine. But it's like I get to actually see these emotions. So that's a nice perk of.
That is also true.
And they'll,
But
if you get a good client, the client they'll cover it for you.
oh, for sure. I mean, I'm always with clients like that's the minimum I ask, because back in the day when I started with freelance, I was letting myself get, walked all over by
Mm-hmm.
clients. I used to not like stand up for myself when negotiating. Um, the worst thing is the very first ArcViz job I did is a 2-minute animation, 2 minutes of just, and it's like 7 rooms and like two big areas, and I have to do all the set dressing and all the lighting and blah blah blah, blah texturing. You get it?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and setting up the sketch. What is it? What do you call that? Like ArcViz software? It's SketchUp or something. You have
Mm-hmm.
to like set up the SketchUp model, and like SketchUp doesn't use a normal 3D geometry like logic, so your whole model is going to be filled with n-gons and glitches and shading issues and that kind of stuff.
Dude,
So that's
fucking. Do you guys
yeah.
know who Omega is?
I do not.
no,
Cubs, do you? Oh, he's kind of more in like this like Star Wars 3D sphere. He's another one of those ridiculously. He's also here. Let me just pull up his art station because he's
I
great.
may recognize his work.
I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
maybe.
load up all my cloud layers because I think this is cool.
Yeah, this is badass.
That way I can just switch through them. He's the guy I've been working on with Planet or working with on planets.
Hmm.
Um, he uses
Honestly, when I see
TerraGen.
all these cloud layers, on Sam, you're literally like in competition with like TerraGen. Like,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean
straight up.
that's kind of the point in this renders. I
yeah,
was talking
holy shit.
to an ILM guy. He says like 12 times faster than TerraGen.
Oh, I
Let
see
me.
somebody in the comments is asking how we found each other.
Oh, just
It's quite the love
mainly.
story, but
So
just
Yeah.
I'll share how I found Covingsworth. So I'm friends with Jared Timmy
Mhm.
Terret. And Jared and Cov knew each other for some amount of time. I don't know. And then I met Cov through Jared initially, and then more
Yeah.
recently I reached out because I was like, fuck, I need to find somebody to do some interviews, and like, oh shit, Cov,
Yeah.
he makes
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
shit. I wanna talk to him. Um,
Yeah.
No, honestly though, like this is actually kind of funny, but you guys are the first 3D artists I've ever talked to, like just straight up. I, as I said, I'm a business student, and like
mhm.
my family has no interest in it. My friends have zero interest in it. So the yeah, so like I always just learned 3D purely out of my own volition, and like I watch tutorials. Like that's basically it. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I never really, I sometimes did feel like I needed like a mentor or like mentorship, traineeship or whatever, like
Hmm.
somebody to really give you good feedback um, on your work, and they're better than you, so like they can actually, give you feedback that helps. Um, but at the same time, as I just told you guys in the beginning, I never saw anybody using Blender the way I wanted to use Blender
Hmm.
until I
Yeah.
found like, Comingsworth like ArtStation. I was like, oh shit. But at that point, I was also already getting a bit further along. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna ask this guy for mentorship. But I will reach out, of course, and like of course talk to you guys when you guys text me.
Hmm.
And like
Yeah, I was
yeah,
reaching out to you about your
yeah.
landscape, your terrain, because like honestly, like the new mountain you made is I got your I bought the thing and I brought it in the blender and broke it down and everything.
You know what's wild? Like
Because
we
yeah, I
have
was
the
very
same.
impressed with it.
We have like the same goal though. Like I watched the previous like podcasting. You were talking about Aaron Westwood. Like you were like in love with the guy, and I'm also in love with the
Yeah,
guy. Like that
I know I
man,
am in love with Aaron Westwood.
like literally that guy creates landscapes and like terrains, and I'm just like, That's something else, man." Like
I know.
that shit hits.
I
For
know.
any,
And
I don't know how he did. I've tried to reach out to him too, and reached out to him on Instagram, and he did get back to me, and he gave me like 20 like awesome points. He's
mm,
super nice. I don't. Have you messaged him and chatted with him? I don't know. Maybe you have.
he actually reached
Um.
out on my art station. He
Oh no
actually
way.
he commented on one of my
Oh, I
pieces,
remember that
and I
on your
was
film, on your short film.
yeah, and I fucking shit my pants. I
Yeah,
took screenshots. That's really sad, actually. This is like a really sad
dude.
thing.
Don't worry. I have
I,
screenshots of when he followed me too. Don't worry.
I screenshot it when he liked like
Yeah,
dude, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we're all kind of like that to some degree. I see
yeah, yeah.
somebody who
it's
I've been like
hilarious. Yeah.
following for a while, and like they're commenting on my work. It's like, holy shit! Like
Yeah,
one
no, it's an
dude,
amazing feeling.
like my
Yeah,
one of my
honest, that's
favorite
so fun.
shows. One of my favorite shows is The Expanse, and then
Mm,
sometime or on this on this post uh this post there's a guy that reached out to me, he commented on my work, and he was like, I saw I worked for, or he did some concept work for The Expanse, and I was like, holy shit, that's cool. By the way, this is one
That's
of Omar's
badass.
vendors.
dude, as I said, you're like actually rivaling with TerraGen. If they've been marketing like their cloud system recently, like being able to like generate clouds and like export them as open VDBs.
Hmm.
But this shader, like your planet shader and like the clouds thing, I don't know what you call those clouds, like the different layers.
Yeah,
But
so these ones are like the cirrus clouds, the wispy
mm,
ones. I don't even really know many cloud layer names. I
yeah,
just call them wispy clouds. That's what me and
no, that's
Omega
all
call
Yeah.
fine.
them as.
I'm the
Uh,
same with like my mountains. I don't know any geographic terms. I just say stuff.
yeah. I mean, I wish I did a breakdown for this one because it does look pretty cool. But I just didn't have the time. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like to
dude,
think that these can compete with TerraGen.
100%.
Or
They look so clean. It's insane to me. Like honestly, I'm still gonna. I was gonna propose this before we started stream, but we already started. I'm gonna tell you guys, if we do like a little short film together, like has
Oh,
to be 30 seconds or like a minute, that'd be
that'd be
so
pretty
sick. If
awesome.
we just like we
yeah, that'd be
team
pretty
up
badass.
to beat Aaron at his own game, we
Dude,
must take that.
let's team up and beat Aaron.
Let's beat Aaron. Like
Oh my God.
honestly, I tried by myself. He commented, but it was a pity comment. I didn't make it. I didn't beat him.
No,
I
he said
was
he showed his wife or something, right?
yeah, something like
And
that.
then
But
his wife didn't know the difference between yours and his.
Wait,
no, but like
which
it was
short
pretty
film are
nice. But
you talking about? Let me go to your
yeah, it's um,
shoot. What's
I
your
think
Aaron Westwood.
it's also on my YouTube. It's like the channel trailer, but yeah, I took 5 months when I came back from like living in South Korea. I finally got my PC back, and I took 5 months of just sitting behind my PC and
Oh, is it
um,
this one?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, this is awesome. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That's pretty sweet.
it's funny because like it's like I feel like people could just spot botanic assets in this in this animation. That's probably partly why I started making my own trees as well.
While
Just
we're
because I
watching
was
this, we got some people in the chat. I do want to answer some questions.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see. So all of you are interested in mostly nature, space, landscape, etc. designs. Have you tried characters of humans? I'll answer for myself first. I have not. I'm scared of that. I don't want to try
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm
Jared-
scared of it too.
yeah,
I have. It's fucking scary. It's like honestly, I think I like probably all of us we like the big expansive stuff, large
Mhm.
scenes because it's actually weird, but like the closer or like you get and stuff, like it gets like 10 times harder
Yep.
to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
anything look good.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I've
There's-
tried humans, but it's terrible. It's very difficult.
It's one of the most depressing things in 3D, really, because like you're used to creating like completely photoreal stuff, but then even the top of the line, like even the metahumans that are like being that were being publicized like a while back, those look pretty good, but then you can still tell like there's still CG. It's
Yeah,
sort of like planets, right? Like
I
you can
think
get
that's exactly what it is, yeah.
you can get like things that look photoreal in nature and stuff, like with planets, but then there's just so much micro stuff going on that you just never can really get the full thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Uncanny
just-
Valley.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it'll completely burn you out.
But also, I feel like with humans, it's a combination of mastering several different trades inside of 3D.
Yeah, anatomy.
Yeah, exactly. You need the anatomy part, like in the sculpting and that kind of stuff. But then you
Yeah.
need to be an extremely talented texture artist. And at
Yeah.
the same time, you also have to be an extremely, well, if you want clothing on your character and that kind of stuff, of course, you need to know marvelous designer and that kind of stuff. And you need to also, how do you say, you need to have like this concept artist mindset where you can just think of your own designs without too much reference.
Mhm.
Like you
Yeah.
take reference and you like almost like an AI mash it up into your own work and like and then are able to do that in 3D. And then
Yeah.
lastly, you need to be able to animate really well because animation is everything, movement is everything.
Right.
So that's the thing with humans. I think a human character is probably like the combination of like every single skill combined of a 3D artist.
Yeah, and it's just
So-
unfortunate because like the best way to take your art and make it more immersive is to stick a human in it. Like you
Yes.
have like an environment and then it has a human in it, it's like 10 times better immediately.
Yeah.
That's why I did.
But I'm
that's why I
just
did
never gonna
robots.
approach humans.
That's why I did
Yeah,
robots
robots, that's
first. Let me go to.
Oh yeah, that's I think
It's
that's
actually
like a
smart.
big- It's facts. I think it is. That's definitely like William Lundgren, like the.
Yeah.
I'm scared to say what Scandinavian country he's from, Sweden or Norway.
I think he's Norwegian.
Okay. Yeah, like I think mastered that, like where he has a lot of characters. I mean, he's definitely a good animator. Like, of
Mhm.
course he has his Rococo suit and everything, but like that doesn't do everything for you. You need to clean up a lot.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's definitely still a skill, but you're right. Like I think robots is definitely a good call to put
Yeah.
characters in. Watch me put robots in all my.
I have a
feature nature
character
shots.
in one of my scenes. It's the
Japanese
temple.
one.
Yeah.
I love that's my favorite one.
But like it works because he's turned around. You only see his head and like him bowing, and then the cape covers everything. So it's like, okay, great, But that guy up close is total mess.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, but I have to ask, did you like download a character or did you like do some marvelous designer work on that?
It's no. So the cape, it's just animated in Blender using a wind system with the
Mm.
thing. So that's the cape, and then the character is just a scan of like a body, and then I just see like the back of the head is like a
Yeah.
scan, and then I just animated it using the pose brush
Damn.
in the thing. So it's like a really janky way to do it, but
Yeah,
it worked for
works
that.
because he's standing still and like no, I love this shot. So I mean, I never told anybody this. I actually lived in Korea for quite a while, and
Is that
like-
for school?
yeah, for school studying
Okay.
and also working a little bit, but that was just
Okay,
like
cool.
side hustle work. But
I
this
lived
shot is
in-
so yeah, so nostalgic to me. I don't know why, but like they just like these like yeah, pagodas. Like I don't know
Hold on,
what it's.
which
I never
shot are you
touched one.
talking about? Let me pull it up.
My
I was
temple thing.
Oh,
That's cool
okay.
though, because I used a
shrine.
lot of reference, and I tried to like get it right because I didn't want to offend anybody, so I tried to
I
get it.
mean, it's of course a Japanese style, but like just these
Yeah,
types of little shrines, like you have them on mountaintops and stuff. And it's like I love climbing mountains. That's another thing about me. I I love mountain climbing.
dude, we're
So like
very alike.
there we go.
Yeah, I'm
You
living
guys
in
are you guys are
Scotland right
Jared.
now.
All y'all are
Oh, what you
climbing
are?
boys.
Yeah, I'm in Scotland, so I just like got back from a I did this is totally off topic, not even 3D, but I
What?
lost my mind and I was like, okay, going up to the Highlands, I did 30 miles off trail, just like walked through the Scottish Highlands.
Damn.
It was so much freaking fun.
I still I,
Um,
I still want to go to Scotland so badly. I mean, I have been once, but not that long, like just a day.
Yeah,
get
yeah.
up here.
Yeah,
Dude,
I
I
mean,
want to lift some stones in Scotland.
dude,
Oh yeah, I saw your lifting stuff. You could totally come up here and boulder it up.
Yeah, it's kind of a meme on the server now. I'm always the monkey man.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
oh damn, wait, Cov, you moved to Scotland or you are Scotland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend is in school here.
Oh,
So
okay.
I met her in the United States and then I moved here.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'm here for the next couple months.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Oh, dude, Scotland is so awesome. That's I think like one of the like terrains I really want to conquer like in 3D because it's so difficult actually.
Yeah.
Like the Scottish Highlands are insanely difficult.
Well, the
Yeah, they're
one
I don't
that
pretty
know
you
why.
sweet though.
did with the little houses with the thatched roofs, that's
Yeah,
kind of
that was
Scottish.
I was like I thought more like the Falkland Islands or like the
Oh
or
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Iceland. Like but honestly I'm gonna be real, that was a failure. That was actually the very first shot of my animation. Um
Uh-huh.
and that was just after I watched the I Am movie. I got super inspired and I
Hmm.
instantly jumped on Will Creator and I tried
Yeah.
to do something similar. And that's honestly I think the experience I had with that particular shot is the reason why I switched to Gaia as soon as like I saw what
Yeah.
Gaia was. Because
Oh
Someone's
World
yeah.
Creator has so many like gimmicks. I
someone's been
it's yeah.
asking in the chat, where else have you guys been? I lived in Japan for 4 years.
Oh
No way.
yeah.
Yeah, military.
Oh
Oh,
damn.
what part of the military?
My dad's in the Navy.
Let's
Okay,
go.
very cool. Oh, okay, so you're okay. You weren't in the military.
No, no.
No,
Okay,
I
gotcha,
was a
gotcha.
baby.
Sam Sam was
I was like
Sam's Space
11.
Force, dude.
Yeah.
That's sick though, dude. I honestly those countries like
They're pretty
yeah, it's
sweet.
they're awesome like but also nature wise like coming from Europe like I know Alps, I know, you know, like hills and mountains here whatever, but I went to Korea and I was like, what is this nature? Like it's so steep and rocky and yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's super awesome.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's badass.
So yeah, no, I definitely really like that shrine render that you did.
Yeah, it's pretty
Um
sweet.
but I think we all forgot what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we originally intend. I mean, this is sort of devolved and not devolved. It's evolved into like a podcast sort of thing. I do want to touch on some topics regarding just
Yeah,
how an
for
artist
sure.
Yeah,
thinks
yeah.
and such.
Yeah, right
Um,
now it's like 10 people watching us just meet each other and get to know each other.
Really quickly, somebody asked if it's possible to export my clouds as VDBs. It is not, but they are just noise textures, so it's not really necessary.
Mm, interesting. Wait, they're not. Wait, they're noise textures, you said?
Yep,
So you're getting 3D volumetrics out of a noise texture.
yep, pretty much.
What?
That's how I'm.
What the?
That's also how I
Okay.
do the nebulas.
All right. Okay, wait. Let's see the comments or like the chat for a second. Um. Yes, we are very international, of course. The three Blender international group. That's what we are.
Yeah.
It's a surprisingly
Definitely.
diverse community. Most of this Discord is from Europe and instead of like the
Yeah.
US.
I mean, I want to tell everybody that, like, I'm not like some super crazy international person. I just went to Korea because I had the opportunity with school. And that was actually the first time I left Europe.
Hmm.
Before that, of course, I traveled in Europe a lot, but that's Europe, you know? You can walk across a border and it's no problem.
Hmm.
So traveling in
Yeah.
Europe, of course, isn't like a huge deal. So yeah, my first like real like far away was Korea. So it's not like I'm some super crazy international, you know. But what do you call
Yeah,
those people who fly every week? Jet
jet
setter.
setters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it
Neither
was
am I.
pretty
I mean, the
cool.
first time I left the U.S. was literally 6 months ago. So
Yeah. So, but I mean, those experiences are definitely amazing because I can now take a lot home, like in like different parts of the world that I've seen and stuff in my work as well. So yeah.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Is there any other questions in the chat, or can we just continue with our motivations, ambitions, and inspiration? I don't see any other questions, right?
Yeah, I think there's just a few people commenting on stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
So
which one do you want to start with?
I want to just give a brief overview of like sort of what I want to talk about.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah.
So most of the times people on YouTube, there's just many tutorials on like how to model a certain asset or how to create a certain scene or how to, make something, improve your camera effects in Blender or whatever, right? And those have their place certainly, and they're very valuable, but there's limited content revolving around how to build up like an artistic intuition about stuff and also like a more artistic mindset.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people aren't hindered by technical skills. There's resources for practically everything online. You can find whatever you want. It's more like how they manage their drive and ambition and stuff. That sort of differentiates like the purely hobbyist artist from like, oh, let me rephrase that. The artists who don't really have a whole lot of satisfaction in their work to the artists that are like quite proud of their stuff and
Yeah.
have achieved great success.
No, that's a good way of phrasing it. Yeah, there's definitely, I think, a difference. And like, are we talking about motivation or inspiration in this case?
It's a little bit. It's a little bit of
It's
everything.
like everything, right?
Yeah. Personally, we've touched on a few of these points before and just kind of glossed over them, but really, I think it's important to understand that patience is probably the biggest contributor to artistic success. I want to use an example. I know a fellow. I know a few fellows. Actually, let me just start from scratch. Pretty much every like really successful artist spends a ton of time on each post. Sometimes you get flukes, like my Nebula stuff. This was all done in a few days. That was just sort of like an artistic high I was riding, but it's usually not like that. My planet stuff this has been years in the work, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about patience and keeping moving forward. And I don't really think that the sort of beginner Blender artists really see why that's important, because everything's just like, make this scene in 20 minutes, right? That's like those are the most clickbaity titles. And certainly there is a utility to working efficiently, and you're going to want to have that tool set. But if you want to get hired for something, and I know it's pretty rich for me to talk because I'm currently trying to get hired and I'm still not. But if you want to get hired for something, the best advice I've heard was to make sure you put all your effort into one portfolio thing.
Yeah.
That will look really good.
Well, to add on to that, it's again like 100% yes. Like I wrote down some tips for this if anybody wanted to ask, like why or how do you improve in Blender, and it's time. It's very easy to say, of course, and it's if you're at the beginning of such a journey, it's always a bit daunting to see time being the requirement, because you can never see yourself 1 year ahead. It's hard to see yourself that way. But honestly, again, my journey with landscapes, I did make a few environments in the past, but I was still pretty bad at it at the beginning of, or no, at the ending of last summer. So at the end of last summer, I got back home and I started doing the environments, and you can see like my work has improved like an insane amount in 8 months, and that's because I just, I'm just spending 8 months only on this one skill and basically, improving it. And I'm still not at like a final level or at like an amazing level where I can call myself an expert or,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But it's still like that's 100% a thing that you mentioned. It's like there is value to being efficient, but at the same time, the moments that really matter and the moments that you really learn are moments where you spend 5 months on a shot and you barely improve, but that improvement that you make is like stuck with you now. Like you'll
Yeah.
never unlearn it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really important, just for me, is to fail. Like, I learn way more from my failures than I do from the renders at work. When I get my ass kicked by a render, it's like, okay, now I know everything that didn't work. We'll do it differently next time. So I think as a new artist, yeah, definitely time, and also just learn to love to not succeed. Learn to love to be crap.
I'd like to expand on
100%.
that a little bit because, yeah, I mean, of course, learning from your failures is the biggest thing, but you should also go into projects with something you want to learn from it, because your product,
Yeah.
your project could end up looking like total shit in 5 months' time, and that can be really demoralizing. But then you realize how much experience you picked up over that time, and the reason why it looks
Yeah.
like shit is not because you aren't good at it. I mean, you may or may not be. Who am I to say? But probably because you just got out of your depth and you were learning stuff halfway through. And then the next time you reiterate over those steps, once you've practiced it, you'll get great results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the thing is, as an artist, it's hard to say that might be more difficult for people. It's hard to say when we've actually failed though. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you go to my art station, there's pieces on there that I consider a failure. And like a lot of people who saw it, were impressed or something. People who were like less skilled in that particular area of Blender,
Shoot,
they,
Martin,
see that.
what's your art station?
It's just Maarten Nauta, I think.
It's not. It's
Oh
like
no, it's just Maarten. Only Maarten. There's only one Maarten on ArtStation. It's pretty cool. No, it isn't. I'm somewhere in there. I can send you a link.
here. Here it is. I know I'm following you. That's it. Path Trace Studio.
Oh yeah. So yeah, if you want to know what shots I consider a failure, that big animation, like all the landscapes that I did, that's
Oh,
also on
which
my
one?
YouTube. I think it's Following the Winds of Autumn. It's yeah. Oh,
Oh yeah, that's
that
one.
one. Yeah, it's the big one, but a lot of shots in there I consider failures. Like the second shot in this animation, I think it's a complete bust. It's super shit. But what
Hmm.
I learned from this is so much because this is when I actually started really learning how to properly texture my landscapes. And even though these ones are textured like really badly, right? But that is basically like reflecting on this shot. And at some point, I gave up. I just rendered it. I was like, I need to move on. I need to go to a new project. But I
Yeah.
always take like a week where I just look at my shot and I just keep watching it over and over. And like
Yeah.
reflecting on this shot, I started realizing a lot of things that I did wrong,
If you
especially
wouldn't,
with the sediment and that kind of stuff.
yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to probe a little bit deeper to that, just as an
Mm-hmm.
example. Like, what aspects of this are the most wanting in your opinion?
Of this shot, it's one, the scale is off. The mountains, like in the trees, the mountains are modeled in a way that they should be huge, and the trees should be little specks. But the trees seem quite big on the mountain, so the mountain feels like maybe a few hundred meters tall. So it just doesn't make any sense.
Gotcha.
Of course, I also made these mountains in World Creator, and as I told you, I have a lot of problems with that software. The layer-based editing is very limited. And it's like Gaia is just like World Creator where it creates a height-based map. However, in Gaia you are able to add a lot of filters and stuff to really how do you say it, like the more steep parts of your mountain are often still pretty detailed. And in
Mm-hmm.
World Creator, as you can see that cliff, it's just flat. And then at that time I didn't know how to properly texture yet either, so I didn't really utilize bump or triplanar projection. I didn't even know about that yet.
Yeah.
And I also overdid the flow because in an attempt to make it look better, I just overdid the flow of the sediment on the mountain, so it's like very sandy for some reason. So yeah, this shot to me is a complete bust, but then I just, comped it in After Effects with a pretty sky and
Hmm.
then just move on, knowing that, I can do better and also finding new areas I can improve in. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't learn yet from this shot. I didn't learn the proper way of texturing, for example, or the proper way of scaling my mountains. But I
Hmm.
did realize that was wrong. So, I'm one step closer to a better, end result next time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, yeah, I did post a shot. It's in my, video. So is it a failure or is it not? That's always the question. But
I mean, I think a
Yeah.
lot of people would look at this and be inspired by it.
Yeah.
yeah,
I wanna call out the chat real quick because um
100%.
like you guys are probably looking at this and you probably didn't bat an eye when you saw this until we like actually broke it down. I mean, I'm used to picking apart my works and some other people's works because I'm usually asked to critique stuff. And yeah, I mean, I do see some issues, but they aren't glaring, right? Like I think this path looks a little bit weird.
Oh yeah, there's so many issues. This
Yeah,
this is my first, and the thing is, this is funny as well. Like, I did use grass fault for this one. I use Botanic. I use an expensive software called Wool Creator. I have the tools,
yeah,
but at this point, I'm just like still learning the tools. So you can definitely see that skill sometimes is more important than your tools for sure.
yeah. I mean, regarding World Creator, it's actually I've found it's really good for a lot of stuff. Like I showed Covingsworth this my Mars stuff in the last
Yeah, I
one.
saw I saw your that in that sense, I do agree that it's good at some stuff and like
But
others,
certainly
yeah.
the more rocky flows and stuff. I mean, you can clearly see it
Mhm.
takes it takes um some fine tuning at to be sure to get that actually looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Even then
Yeah.
though, like as like a rather nitpicky artist myself, I don't really notice too much. Like I've seen mountains that look like this. I lived in the Midwest for a little while and I certainly saw my fair share of really sandy mountains.
I think the
Yeah, it looks
main
like kind of
thing
a
is
Montana thing.
Yeah.
yeah, I think the main thing is for me with this mountain is the scale. I think that was what I pulled out the most basically, where I was like, okay, this scale, I mean the texture is definitely not like passable for me, but the scale of it all, the trees feel, I don't know, it feels weird. It was not the look I was going for. I wanted it to be like alpine, mountains, which
Yeah,
are
yeah.
kilometers in height and not a few hundred meters, and it just feels more like a sandy hill rather than a mountain.
For sure.
And let's not talk about that mountain in the background there. That
That one
that's
does
probably
look. That one like almost literally sticks out like a sore thumb.
yeah, literally. I yeah, no, I don't know what I was thinking.
It does look pretty
But
cool though.
again, I was playing around.
I think it's
Yeah.
cool
So,
how in this video you can see your progression. Like there's
oh
like
yeah,
as it goes on, there's shots that become like just way more impressive.
I
Hmm.
think this was like the second, and this was one of the last ones, this shot. And
Mhm.
this was a shot that I definitely sat down and I was like, right, I don't know what I did, but like it worked.
Yeah,
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 and
yeah, for sure.
this is world created for the rock or the mountains,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
like the thing is, like I have not yet been able to replicate this kind of rock setup in World Creator. That's actually why I switched to Gaia because I was like I was done. I was like I can't. I want Gaia.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need those node setups.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
does
definitely
look
like
really good.
nodes better.
Mm-hmm. Layers mess with my brain. It just I can't.
World creator is so fast though. I just love it for that.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think like for me, it's always been like I'll take the hit. I don't have a super fast computer,
This is
so
one
I'll
of the
take the
craziest
hit.
scenes I've ever seen. Just by the way.
Yeah,
That's
I think
the
this is the most impressive shot.
that's the very last shot, and I actually made that one in like the shortest amount of time. So that's why I ended it right there, because I felt after the valley shot that we just checked out, I felt confident enough to actually pick up a shot, that Aaron did, like, not like replicate it, but like do a shot that was very inspired by it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that was this one. It was like I don't know what he has it on his art station. It's somewhat similar in lighting, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
took all the things I learned from 5 months of creating environments and just put it all out in this scene.
And the trees were made in Speed Tree too?
No, these trees are. I got Speed Tree after this project.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, these trees are forestation assets, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then like the vegetation is like mostly Quixel plants. So
Are these mountains following the same like setup that you use by using masks from Gaia and blending it with
this is
PBR stuff?
this is also still Wool Crater. So I only got Gaia.
Oh, this
after.
is World Creator.
Yeah. So I got Gaia after the this whole project.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is. I'm also not happy with these mountains because yet again, like they're kind of bubbly, like rounded. I mean, I get they look good, like they look okay.
Yeah, I think they look great.
I was going for an alpine look more, and like they weren't sharp. So again, yeah, it's I have some nitpicks with this scene, but overall it looks good. So I just let
I
it
think
pass.
the two mountains in the the right center, kind of in the background there, look really good.
Yeah, and then the one on the right, like that, like that looks bad. I tried putting like Quixel cliff assets there, but I don't know, it just didn't work. I was like, fuck it, I'll render it out. Hopefully nobody sees it.
Yeah. I mean, when I first saw it, I was really impressed. So I was like, damn,
it's good to
I gotta pick up my game here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still really impressed.
I think a lot of it, this is a pro tip for all the viewers, the 10 people watching. This is a pro tip. If you render out a glossy pass, so like glossy indirect, glossy direct, and whatever, and you add them together, denoise them, and then you add that in your comp onto your, you add that layer on top of your rendered out layer, and you add it as a screen blend, like something that brightens it up.
Yep.
You actually get really nice highlights in reflections and that kind of stuff. And anybody who knows Blender and Filmic, we all know that it's kind of decontrasted, and even if you turn up the contrast a lot, that's actually a tip for all my work. It's highlights, pump them up, pump up the highlights.
This is just using the raw in the raw whatever it is color space. I was trying to replicate
really good, right?
the Himawari images.
Yeah, but there's one thing with like, I think if you have like any colorist experience or that kind of stuff, like adding glow and adding highlights is often like very important. Like people will add contrast, like shadows and that kind of stuff, but people often forget like highlights. And I think if you see my Misty Valley breakdown, you actually see like a pass of the render and then the actual highlights added, or like yeah, you'll see it here. And like it's night and day. Like I don't know, that finished the shot. So can definitely recommend.
That's a glossy diffuse and
no, let me open Blender and see what the layers are called. I use a free add-on called SID, like Super Image Denoiser, that does all that for me, like the render layers. But it's okay. So in the render passes under light, there's glossy. So glossy direct, glossy indirect, and glossy color.
Yeah.
Just check them all, add them back together in the comp and like denoise them, and then with a file output, rendered it out as its separate layer.
So far, my best method for denoising is to. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, my best method I've found for denoising I use in some of the Nebula shots is to do a denoise. I use the compositor denoise node, but I use that once, and then I mix it with a noisy image, and then I do another one, and I mix that with a noisy image, and I keep doing that.
That's actually hella smart, because you're just
smart.
Getting rid of the detail and then adding it back a bit and like letting it. Oh.
Yeah, you can mess with it. It'll still let me see if I can. I'm gonna here. This is the Nebula, I think. I might just sort of demonstrate how it works while we talk. It won't work super great for animations, but for stills it works perfectly.
Yeah, I've noticed like with animations sometimes it's better to have like less resolution. Like I rendered a lot of these shots, everything in 4K, and I actually saw more noisy flickering after denoising than if I render out in 1080p at like a little bit more samples.
For sure.
I remember like there's like this CG geek or something. I think he did like a video where he said very explicitly like, oh, up your resolution, add more, resolution, and lower your samples.
Yeah.
That's why you get a more detailed image. And it's true. However, with animation, it's actually the opposite because you'll get a lot of denoise flickering, which looks like an AI kind of, you see like that AI flickering in your image. And it's actually better to render out 1080p and then with more samples.
You might find some
Yeah.
success with blurring the 4K image a bit.
Yeah, I've done that, but like sometimes it's very noticeable. You see like that
Okay.
whole like weirdly wiggling image. So
Yeah,
I
understand.
Yeah, so that's also definitely a thing with like denoising. If you do a still image, it's way different than if you do like an animation with the denoising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. That's my
All right, we've lost the plot again. Now we're talking about denoise. We keep coming back to the
Oh well, I mean,
parts.
it's still quite interesting.
The technical
I'm just
parts keep
rendering.
hitting us.
I'm just rendering.
There's one question
some
in chat,
Nebula.
by the way. Carpet asking, will realism of graphics always be a receding horizon so that the last gen always appears noticeable, or are we approaching a threshold where it's unrecognizable and will remain that way? I think the definition of realism in art is often also kind of mixed in with like
I want to show this when we talk about realism, because this is like the greatest model I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's actually a good example.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
It's realism is definitely, it's already full realism is already achievable, right? Like this full realism is achievable. You can see it just depends on what kind of render it is. So like an engine such as this, he spent like 8 months modeling it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and it's fully realistic. Like, add a few scratches, but basically this could be a real image. Nothing would indicate it isn't. But the thing is, right now with like realism is becoming more available to terrains because of Quixel and that kind of stuff with all their photo scans and just photogrammetry in general. However, I do think like the receding horizon that people feel with realism is the fact that like we don't really look for realism, we look for like something unique.
Yep.
Because I feel like a lot of games and stuff, they're getting these super nice next gen graphics, but you notice it's just a lot of Quixel assets in every single game. Like,
yeah.
Jesus, that model is absurd. I didn't see the close-ups. That's actually ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a very big difference between realism and then immersion. And immersion is like oftentimes more realistic than if all of your assets are insanely high resolution and blah 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 whatever. It can feel disconnected.
Yeah,
and that's true with games and stuff. There's a lot of new games where the graphics are really impressive, but you are not as immersed as in GTA 4 or whatever. So yeah,
no, that's actually perfectly said. Like again, like the immersion and that's very much art direction. Like somebody has to art direct that into being immersive. So yeah, I think I don't think it's like the realism of graphics is like a receding horizon. It's like we already there basically. We can create photoreal.
I want to show some wireframes because this is like the most absurd thing you've ever seen.
The close up, like the texturing is so crazy on this.
I know, right?
But it's cool going back to just thinking about it more, and it's interesting because it doesn't seem like it would work this way, but the story and the setting and the environment and things like that have nothing to do with the technicalities of the graphics or anything. But like if you have the story right and the composition and all that, it can feel more realistic. Yeah. Which is cool because a lot of people don't think that way when they're first getting into. I think in 3D it's especially hard because you have to focus on those technicalities when you're learning. And then you have to step back and go, okay, well, I know how to work with this stuff. I know how to work with the software. Now I have to start world building and bringing a story into this. Yeah. That's kind of where I am, honestly, with my process. And my images are getting way better because of it, I think.
Sure.
No, exactly. That's,
I mean, it's very much building up an intuition, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is as well, like, it's like with Cov, like, he's like, his art has more story building it nowadays, like with the latest render you did with that abandoned like gas station, like with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
murder
yeah.
scene and stuff.
With the blood and the
Exactly.
shotgun shells. Yeah.
Like that scene is so realistic because there's like you notice little details and like it tells a story and like I guess that kind of distracts you from hyper analyzing the image, you know, oh, is
Yeah.
it and then like, oh wait, there's shotgun shells, you know, and then like
Yeah.
that already adds a lot and like I can imagine that like you didn't do sound editing for it, right? Like the that shot.
Yeah, there's a little bit for the YouTube video.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
again, yeah, so that kind of stuff, sound editing. It's like
sound goes a long way, yeah. Like a huge.
honestly,
Actually, have you guys seen that new like um that new game that came out that's
Oh yeah, it's going around the
coming from the
internet,
yeah, it's called Unrecord.
something like
I've
that.
not
Yeah.
seen it.
Oh my God, it's crazy. So that's just like if we can like pull up that, but it just shows how far that the like um like just the animation of the character and the post-processing effects and the fact that it looks like it's coming from a camera makes it way more realistic. Even in the world isn't even that impressive.
Let's
Wait,
see.
what's
I'm excited to see this. Unrecord?
Unrecord, yeah.
I'm pulling it up on my screen.
Yeah, I'm watching your screen. I'm excited to see this.
Unrecorded, there we go.
I don't want to get any copyright stuff. I think,
from Twitter it should be fine.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm only
what,
gonna
is
play
this
a few.
game?
Yeah. So
What?
it's a sort of
It's
thing.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
What?
Well, it's the camera effects that are doing a
Is it
lot of the
VR?
work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
that's-
this world in Unreal Engine would just be like, okay, it's just, and then you throw in the camera and the fisheye and the animation, it's just like immediately
Wait, this is not VR.
so much more
This is just like what?
That's
Wow.
crazy.
That's wild. No, I mean, I think that pretty much covered what we said earlier about like, yeah, the camera shake is as we
Yeah,
said. Like,
immersion, right?
yeah, the immersion and stuff. Like,
I can imagine
again,
this would be
I don't know what
absolutely
the sound
wild to
is like.
play in VR.
The sound is really good. It's like
Yeah,
it makes it, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
honestly,
I'll let
I think
you
sound
guys.
is more important.
Yeah, I'll let you guys research that. I don't want to risk any copyright
Understand.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
that's-
again,
makes
like,
sense.
so yeah, sound is as well. Sound is insanely important because imagine this, like, it's weird, but like, if we watch a big screen and like something is happening, we're seeing it, but we're not immersed. But if we close our eyes and somebody puts on good headphones on your head and like plays certain audio, all of
Yeah.
a sudden we feel like we're there. So I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
say that audio is almost more important than visual.
Yeah.
Then yeah, when you actually want to convey a certain realism. So I also always spend like
Yeah,
a
because
lot
like
of time doing that.
audio is like an atmospheric effect. So if there's none of it, it just feels the entire render feels incredibly discreet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just
It's
sort
actually
of-
funny. It's how I like show my renders, like the ones I like at least. I show them some love by doing some sound effects editing and stuff for it. But like if I have a render that I just don't like, I dump it on the art station. No sound.
Punish
Just
it with no noise.
Yeah, disrespect it. That's how,
Yeah.
that's how we do it.
if I just don't post to ArtStation that much. I've got like 12 posts.
I mean,
Yeah, there's a bunch of
Definitely.
your new stuff that you haven't put up on it.
Yeah, I don't really post that much to ArtStation. I really should. I'm getting close to 500 followers, and I do want to
damn.
experiment with that.
No, you should definitely because ArtStation is actually the place where at least I've gotten the most job offers from people.
Yeah.
Just like texting me, asking me to like do shots for their game trailers, whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah, definitely, dude.
I've
that's,
oddly
like,
enough
a good
gotten I've gotten the most job offers through Discord.
place.
Oh,
Well,
really?
you have a big Discord, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I funnel a lot of people through there, so yeah, it's kind of to be expected. But
I just
yeah.
wanna. I'm gonna wait. Okay, wait. Was there anything else we want to cover on the on the list?
I
'Cause
think
I feel
we
like we're
touched.
straying away.
I mean, straying away is perfectly fine.
Okay.
I mean, just a free form conversation is interesting enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I want to send something into. Wait, where can I send it to you guys? A link.
There's
I'm gonna
a
send it to
chat.
direct messages.
I would prefer
All
because
right.
I have to.
Oh yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to stop streaming.
Let's see. Where's the chat? Can I not chat as a speaker?
You can
Pop out.
on
You
the
go to the
top
top
right,
right.
and then you can
Pop
see
right.
the.
There we go. Show chat. There we go. All right. So okay, I'm popping it in. That link. It's to an art thing.
Oh yeah,
This
Rory.
this guy. This is actually weird. So he has himself as like a digital nature specialist listing, but his shots are some of the 3D shots where sometimes I'm just like the lighting or something like I can see 3D assets, you know, like I can see the
Yeah,
trees
these
are
grounds,
somewhat
these
3D,
rocks are looking a little bit crusty.
but his but like he has some shots where the lighting is so damn atmospheric and good that I just like it looks super real. Like I don't know, it
Yeah,
just looks
Yeah,
really real.
you get the impression of feeling real.
Yeah. And I have a
yeah.
question for you guys.
Yep.
Like we've all worked extensively with Blender, and I don't know if you guys have any experience. I know that Sam, you're like trying with Houdini.
I'm in the very early stages of learning it.
Yeah, but like with Blender, like cycles, do you guys think like sometimes it there is something with cycles that kind of just gives it a look,
Oh
where it
yeah,
kind of does feel? Because I swear to God, like when I see renders from Octane or if I see renders from Redshift, there's definitely a different look to it. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's so hard to replicate with cycles sometimes what people on Octane are doing.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I'm
should.
like Aaron uses what does he use? Octane, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the volumes are just so much better. So he's able to get that
Mm-hmm.
atmospheric effects like way quicker and just with more control and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that than Blender. And I'm kind
Yeah,
of jealous of that.
Arnold is probably the one of the better um,
Mm.
volumetric engines, just because it's got a lot of like. Let me pull this up. This
Yeah, I
is
feel I never know what it exactly entails that makes them look different, but like I think volumetrics is like a really big part of it.
yeah. I don't really know exactly what's going on. So I'm kind of like I'm a more of a volumetrics guy.
Mm-hmm.
I just find them fascinating. So right here, it's just it handles anisotropy better, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell it makes it almost look like plasticky and solid. It's pretty neat. You can see I'm doing a similar thing. This is kind of a shitty render, but I'm trying to do a similar thing here. It's not really the noise. It's a little bit too noisy to really see it, but I have high anisotropy in these um, denser bits, and then I just leave the haze to be like sort of have a uniform distribution.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's these micro shading things that make it a little bit different, whether they be optimizations or just whatever. But really, though, I mean, you can get a surprising amount of quality out of cycles. I mean, you just kind of have to gotta know where to look for it. Like case in
Yeah.
point, my cloud tutorial, right? My
Yeah,
clouds.
yeah, exactly. That's a good one. It's like you need to do some weird shading
Yeah,
Yeah.
tricks to make it
it's
work in
just
your.
Just requires a little bit more touch, I feel like, in cycles. But I mean, like overall, I went through a stage where I was like, God, do I need to move from cycles to Octane or V-Ray or something? Like how do
Yeah.
like what's this realism trick that's happening? But I honestly think that it's the playing field is pretty level. I don't
Yeah.
think that like you or I's or any of us would our environments would look astronomically better in another render engine.
Uh,
I just
yeah.
think these people are better than us. No, I'm
I
just
th-
kidding.
I
But
think
but yeah,
isn't it like every Blender artist has a moment where they're like, right, I should take myself serious, and then you go onto like a
yeah.
different app or like a different software, and then you're just like, nope.
And then you just come back to yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you
I
can
just,
see. Sorry, you keep going.
oh yeah, sorry. I just want to say like I got C4D for like 1 month, and like I actually got pissed off at the way the UI works and the way it moves. I was just like, wow, I hate this. It actually made me angry, so I went straight back to Blender.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
at that point, I never looked back. I was just like, nah, Blender got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to
Plus,
point. I just
well,
wanted to point out real quick. Like in this, you can easily see cycles volumetrics handling something like this. So there
mhm.
is obviously an element of artistic skill. It's not just a render engine.
Yeah.
Right, right.
I mean, that's definitely right. I think though, like with maybe Filmic can also be an issue in Cycles or Blender, where like same with that Rory guy, his renders like again like that's why I think yeah with Blender it requires more post editing for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think
so
Rory is putting a solid amount
oh
of
yeah,
like I think if we saw his raw renders, we'd be like, "Oh yeah, I can do that." And
Yeah.
oh
oh yeah,
no, all of the scenes here are raw renders.
yeah no, but
Wait,
like
wait, wait,
that's
that doesn't make any sense. And individually graded in DaVinci. I don't know if we're looking at raw renders or if we're looking at
raw renders from Octave. Maybe he means like raw as in the file format.
oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're graded in DaVinci. You can tell they're graded. So,
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like the I do a lot of my like I gave you just now the lighting tip with the glossy, and then I also of course add a lot of glow. Like
yeah, glow is huge.
glow is like huge. Just go into After Effects and just crank them glow
Do you do the
effects.
trick? One thing that I do is I put a blur on it and then I just turn the blur like the
Mm,
opacity down.
yes,
You do that
sir.
as well? Yeah,
I
it's
that's
nice.
like on my last mountain shot exactly. It's been a trick I used for years where I just
Yeah.
copy the layer, add Gaussian blur, then I actually turn it into a screen mode or like screen
Oh,
blending or
okay.
whatever, and then I turn the opacity down. So that
Yeah,
way it
yeah.
only basically that haze or glow
Yep.
only actually affects the bright parts, and you don't get like a glow effect around dark parts.
Oh.
So yeah, it's just like adding a screen. That's the only difference.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's definitely it. Like with Blender, like you can get those looks. Although V-Ray might be a little difficult to get the same look because V-Ray is just different. I don't understand it, but
V-Ray's
Yeah.
you can
built
get you
different.
can yeah, it's built different. Uh,
Sam, what is your post-processing workflow like?
yeah,
I
that's
don't
it.
have one.
Or is all your stuff raw? Because I mean, it looks just so stunning, like all of it.
Yeah, I never really use. The only thing I've ever really used in post processing was what a old friend of mine gave me, um, a bloom node that looks a lot better than just like regular cycles, or not
Mm.
cycles,
Okay.
whatever, composite glare. So that's
Yeah.
like the only thing I really use.
Okay.
But like this, for instance, this is like just straight raw render. I just have it set to high
Yeah.
contrast.
Damn, that's
And
wild
then-
because your stuff looks so damn good, just raw. Then that's
Yeah, I'm raw
feel
dog
like
in
I-
reality, boy.
yeah. No, I feel like I definitely need to comp my stuff a lot, and then like add a lot of glow, add a lot of highlights.
Like
this, that.
oftentimes I'm not happy with it until I do the comp, and then it's like, okay, well, it
Mhm.
actually works. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I got OMAG to comp some of my planet renders a while back, and like they certainly looked more real, but they also looked a little bit less detailed
Yeah.
Yeah.
because obviously you have to cover up. Like, let me, like this is one of OMAG's renders, right? And there's a lot of noise and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, I mean, this isn't an obnoxious amount of noise, but it does obscure some of the detail around here.
Hmm.
How long did these take to render?
I have no idea. This one probably took a couple hours.
Oh damn.
It's like 4K though. So.
Damn though. That's wild. Like I'm like I try to keep my renders like below 10 minutes per frame because of course I do a lot of animation work rather than still renders.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm always trying to get the most speed out of cycles
for sure.
on my 3060.
Yeah, I love volumetrics, right? So I try to make some
Yeah.
volumetric optimizations. It's
100%.
it's
And
pretty
every time
funny.
you find one, you should share it because damn, I gobble those up, dude. Any optimization I can get.
Y'all want to see some of the inner workings of this?
Yeah.
I would love to see your Nebula stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
not going to go too far into detail because I just released it as like a product earlier today, but I can give you guys the gist.
All right, guys, everybody take your notepads out. Screenshot, quick. You can edit it back together in Photoshop.
I mean, honestly, I don't really care if you see all the details and such because like there's actually a reasonable amount of noise or nodes. Like it's probably more effort just to recreate it than to actually buy it. So
Yeah, no, I definitely just buy it.
yeah, basically all this is there's no scattering in here. It's all emission, and
Wait. Oh.
an absorption. The absorption is somewhere over here. Yeah. So all the lighting detail is calculated via these light steps.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking the series of light steps. These essentially just march the ray towards the light source, and it just samples the volume. You can see this density function is just the sort of whole function of it describes the nebula structure. I just sample that at a number of different points, and then that is used to compute a light value for a certain
So it's
point.
just all emission.
Yep.
And, oh, wild.
That's really cool.
Dude.
And there's multiple different ones. This is the main one, and then each star, if you see in these renders, each star actually emits light off around the down to the galaxies, and it's actually pretty much noiseless, or not really noiseless, but noise friendly is what I mean to say.
You know, the wild thing is, like, I just saw that and I was like, oh, it's, comp, like add some bloom, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it's so wild that you just have this all straight in the shader. It's
like, look, it's going to render out one sample. This is like one sample. So that's obviously a lot better than most volumetrics.
So the tiling is better for these kinds of renders than the progressive?
I just have it so that I can see, like, a noiseless version quicker.
Oh,
this doesn't use a lot of memory, so you can really just set it.
Oh, it is low on memory. What the? Huh.
Dude.
I just have it like this because the performance difference is, like, rather negligible, and it's just it's easier to see. So if I get some, like, wonky shading, like over here, I can quickly end the render. I always render tiled like that. A lot of people are like,
I know, I render tiled still as well, because I've actually found that, like, for my scenes, I often run out of VRAM because of all the textures, that I have. And if you do use tiling, it actually, like, I mean, it says it if you hover your mouse over it, it does, like, save memory.
Yeah, for sure. I use most of my planet renders. I use multiple 30K plus cloud composites. So that's obviously I need a lot of memory efficient stuff. So I always use tiled. My go-to tile size is like 512 because the difference on, like, a 30-minute render is, like, maybe 13 seconds. Anyways, actually this is the main light source. So I'm just marching that to the rays to the center, which is where, like, the big light is located. So I'm just calculating the shadow, seeing what's in front of that. Then for the stars, I march them, instead of to the center, I march them to the center of a Voronoi cell. So that basically gives you, like, as many stars as you want for the cost of one. So I have one layer of Voronoi. These are, like, for the bigger stars, and then I have a smaller one. This one also has light.
Can you easily just, like, slide up a certain value and get more stars in this nebula? Or
yep.
That's so. Honestly, these node setups freak me out.
This is, like, great. I mean, I I would approach humans, like, way before approaching something like this.
Yeah, terrifying.
The irony here is that this is actually pretty easy to create because I already did a lot of the stuff with planets.
I mean, it's easy to create if you follow, like, all the math, right? Yeah, because, like, I see, like, 5 of these nodes and I'm already scared. Like, I need to learn geonodes, I feel like, because, Blender has it now and I still, like, barely understand. I can, like, scatter instance on points, like, that's the extent I know.
Another fun thing that I do here that is, like, kind of subtle, like, it's kind of hard to pick up. I have this chain. Basically what happens is that since the lighting detail is computed in the nodes, the lighting detail, no matter the step size, I can turn this up to 10, the lighting detail is still going to remain the same, but it's going to look a lot more, like, see-through. So what I figured I could do is, because the lighting detail is pretty much noiseless and I'm bottlenecked by all the volume samples, I could compute more absorption samples, but less for each emission sample. So I compute 5 absorption samples for every 1 emission sample. And that means I essentially get like 5 times the volume detail at like a third of the cost.
That's crazy.
Damn.
Yeah, let me
What
sort
the
of
hell?
show you what I mean. So if I set this to like 1, right, you can see we got a lot of this detail, but if I turn this off, I don't actually know if I can off. Okay. Well, this wasn't a... I need to figure out what I'm doing because
You
this
got
isn't...
lost in your own nodes.
It's been a while since I've opened this up and played with it.
Fair enough. I understand, don't worry. It
Yeah.
looks so complex. So, by the way, somebody's asking where they can buy this node setup.
It's on my Patreon. I just released a video
Time to
earlier
plug
today.
it. Plug
Yeah.
Patreon. Let's go.
I just released a video earlier today. You can find it on my channel. It has more detail there. I just figured I'd show this off because it's fun. And it seems like people are interested in it. But yeah, you can see you get really crisp details like this. Even when the step rate is pretty high.
I have a question. Do you ever use, because this is of course a shot by itself, and it's like all this, stuff in one shader and in one object. But do you ever feel like, do you ever use this Nebula stuff to like add it in with your planets and that kind of stuff? Or do you?
I have some HDRIs, but usually I'm like more of an asset artist, so I usually create assets
Yeah.
just for the sake of creating assets, and I let somebody do some comp stuff on them.
But like, have you ever tried that? Like, since you like, I have my own assets, like the mountains, for example, like, and then I like use them in my own shots. Do you use them like in?
I did
So
this one a
yeah.
while ago, which is sort of like that.
Yeah, because of course you are creating landscapes now too, with like the Mars and stuff. So like, have you ever? Yeah, I was wondering if you did any like combinations of these crazy shaders together with like terrain.
So like you would render it out as an HDRI and then use it. It's not like that whole shader is going to be in there with the planet, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just whoa, this is crazy. How did you do that?
Oh, that's a fancy displacement trick.
Yeah, I watched that video and I was just
That's cool.
I was in awe, dude.
That's so cool. Wait, that's all in Blender? It looks like a sim.
Dude, it's literally just all in one sphere. Like, I mean, the smoke is like a second sphere, but like it's all in one sphere.
Oh, you have a tutorial on that? Okay.
That tutorial blows me away still. I'm just like, what the this makes no sense.
I need to go watch it.
It looks like a Houdini like magic, and it's just like some nodes in displacement.
I'm gonna pin it right now.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky that this ended up right. I mean, this is one of the rare examples of when like you do something that you didn't think would work, but then it ends up actually looking pretty cool.
I have a question. How far does it go? Like that implosion, since like implodes on itself, but it's all in the shader. Like
yeah, it can
does
go.
It fully disappear?
Yeah, it can fully disappear. It doesn't look super good when doing that, just because it looks a little stringy and such.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I mean, back then this was years ago, right? So, I haven't really experimented with it anymore, but I did. I know I could do some stuff with vector displacement that would make it like actually sort of simulate itself, and also my experiments with iterative functions, which I posted, like to do like the fluid curl stuff, right? All that fun stuff and parallax.
I have a question with so you have a lot of skill in like the material shading and that kind of stuff, but have you, like, I don't know how deep is your skill like with the geonodes? I mean, I know it's not the same because it's a lot of more like coding language, I suppose, rather than just straight math. But like, have you done like the simulation nodes and that kind of stuff?
I haven't touched geonodes in a while. I'm just not super interested in it. Let me have some. Okay, something. Yeah, this was an old test I did. Might take a while to load. I just made some rocks and stuff that were pretty neat. Yeah, it's gonna take a while to load.
No worries.
I hope it
Yeah, no,
still
I
works
mean
in this
that's
version.
I have the same thing though, like with GeoNodes. Like I know I should like I know I should, but like when I try stuff with it, I don't know, it's just not the part of Blender that I enjoy, but at the same time it's so powerful that I'm like I feel bad for not knowing it.
I pretty
It's
much just scatter using it.
yeah, I mean I sponsored by Geoscatter. Use my link. Use my link. No.
Although I did
I
find a
use
really
yeah.
cool thing with GeoNodes where
Mm,
you can you can use displacement in GeoNodes,
mm,
and then I mean it's not that like complex, but use displacement, and then you can bring in textures using procedural like box mapping from the shader, and then apply the procedural like texturing in because you like if you use procedural displacement in the
mm.
shader, you can't apply it like to the mesh.
Oh, you mean like if you yeah on the micro displacement thing like on the
Right.
materials. Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
you
okay.
but you can if you're feeding that through the texture into the displacement inside GeoNodes. So you can like mix all of your displacements in GeoNodes and then apply all of it, and then your mesh like is
Stays
baked
that.
with all of the procedural stuff from the
Oh,
shader, which is really really cool.
Really?
that's
Yeah.
wild. Okay, okay, yeah. This is the reason I should look into it more.
Why is this
Uh,
taking so long? My God. I mean, it usually takes
streams over,
long to
boys.
load.
Computer crashed. Oh,
No, no,
Yeah, I feel
no.
like there's like GeoNode based like space systems and stuff that you could do as well. Like I know
mm.
it's probably more efficient using the shader, but GeoNode is just so crazy. I wonder if you could, I wonder what that potential would be in terms of the
I mean,
nebuluses and stuff
you
like
could
that.
definitely like once you have your planet system or shaded and stuff, then like maybe like make a big huge space environment with like planets that like imagine your spaceship's going really fast, so you're like shoot like whooshing past these planets and comets and
Yeah.
the kind of that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That'd be
that'd be
really
cool.
cool because I've not seen that like a big space environment.
I mean,
Yeah.
the problem though is that the each planet on its own is just so heavy that multiple of them would
Yeah,
just
I
literally.
mean you'd have to bake the
Yeah.
textures into something lower res.
I'd
Um,
probably have to do like renderers and stuff and comp them in, which I am.
Oh, did
yeah.
you watch Astartes, by the way,
I have
Sam?
not. I
Oh my
have it
God,
on
you
my
have to
watch
watch it.
list.
I
Have you
wait.
seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Wait, you said they
Here we
took it
go.
off YouTube last on the previous
Oh yeah,
podcast
they
thingy?
Warhammer like bought it. So
Oh,
they
they
took it off
bought it.
YouTube, but it's like it's still
Oh
on there. It's just uploaded by someone else.
no, honestly, that is such. I love stories. That's
Yeah.
where I'm like, if I get to that level where I can animate characters,
Yeah.
I want to do so much.
And it was
I
all by one guy.
but yeah, that exactly. That's super inspirational because
Yeah.
yeah, even though it's like a stylized whatever environments and stuff, but like I'm like, dude, I wanna that's one of the main things that made me wanna like learn character work.
Totally.
At least animation, you know?
Yeah. And that's a good case where immersion,
Yeah.
like technically speaking, like I think that we could probably recreate a lot of those scenes, but his
Yeah.
storytelling and his immersion and like his cinematography and sound
Yeah.
design, it just like it makes it hyper real. It's just really cool.
Literally, yeah, exactly. It's just like everything around it is done so well.
Yeah.
It's kinda it's like yeah, you could do 3D like photorealism, blah 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 blah, blah.
Yeah.
But honestly, the moment you like nail actually getting like film like like how do you say it, direction and stuff, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
art direction, then yeah, that's
This
way
is
more
super
important.
badass, by the way. This is awesome.
Dude, yeah, exactly. I'm looking at these crystals. These are so nice.
This is
So
so cool.
crunchy.
I saw somebody
and that's it.
do this in Houdini a while back, and I
Mm.
wanted to try it. It's like
Is there like subsurface on the crystals or?
I forget what I did. It's like some volumetric stuff.
Oh
What?
shit. Oh, they're using volumes?
I
Oh,
think.
I mean,
Damn.
yeah, it should be doable, right? It's
Yeah.
what's this glass?
Oh yeah, they're
volume, yeah.
oh,
Oh.
Let me
cool.
see. It's been so long.
No, but for real though, like this kind of work like that you do, Sam, it's like this is so like applicable to all kinds of like commercial stuff too. Like I don't know if you know
Yeah.
this guy, Albin Merle.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I saw he's just subscribed like to my channel earlier today.
nice. Yeah, no, but like that guy, he's like a god in geonodes, like, and he is getting so much work with like, commercial stuff like watches and like these cool product animations and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super sick. But
For
like
sure,
this
for
kind
sure.
of work, yeah, exactly that. So nice,
Yeah, man.
crunchy. I'm still looking at it on the stream now. I'm just like taking longer to look at these crystals.
Oh yeah.
It, are you still? Oh wait, I thought you were still rendering the nebula with them, right?
Nah.
Yeah. So this stream should probably be called like Re-Artist. Try not to talk about technicalities, but we end up constantly talking about the
Yeah.
technicalities.
Do you want to? By
It's
the way,
it's in our blood.
you guys can like clip this and upload it to your channels if you guys want. It's gonna be
Um,
recorded on YouTube.
I'm gonna probably, if I'm gonna upload, I'll probably edit it down as much as I can. Just like
Yeah, yeah.
get the gold
Yeah.
the little nuggets out of there of good info,
Yeah,
and then
more eyes is always better. And I think this
yeah.
is a surprisingly productive conversation considering how much it's straight off topic.
Honestly,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. We just straying off topic constantly, but it's flowing.
I mean, I think what it's showing is that like our motivation and stuff comes from just how much we love 3D. Like we
Yeah,
can't not obsess over it, and ultimately that's where my motivation comes from. Ultimately, I'm just like so obsessed with it.
so I think that answers the question, which is the motivation, inspiration, ambition. What is it? It's just
Yeah, I think you just
being a huge
gotta love
nerd.
it. Yeah,
It's
honestly, yeah.
it's harebrained
Yeah.
psychosis masquerading as artistic
Exactly.
devotion.
Literally.
Yeah.
What you have to do is just be, such a nerd that you just like all these little jargon words for some reason give you kind of like an exciting feeling. And then that's it. That's it. Also, though, like, how do you guys feel? Because of course, you guys now have an audience, so anything you post gets a certain amount of attention and people, praising you and that kind of stuff. Um, but like for me, for example, it's new that I actually get anybody seeing my post. Of course, I got like maybe like 10 people viewing it and maybe a comment every few months. But like for artists who are beginning or like people who just don't want to do tutorials, that kind of stuff, it's often like doing personal projects is kind of thankless work in a sense where everybody makes art to show it, right? Like nobody just makes art to throw it in the void and never ever show anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, what would you say to somebody who doesn't have, an audience necessarily?
Cub, if you wouldn't
Yeah.
mind, I'm gonna go first.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've been doing the YouTube thing for a couple of years now. I've always, I'm surprised I even got to like 5K subscribers, and now we're almost 6K. It's actually really been taking off this past few days.
That's awesome.
So it's been a like gradual transition. I started on Instagram, and then like 6 months later, I moved to YouTube. And then I just slowly kept building up videos. So my experience has been just sort of a gradual transition. I haven't really noticed much, except like, well, I have noticed quite a few things, but it's like all the time I'm seeing people like that I used to look up to. Now they're like, well, I still look up to them sometimes, right? But now they're reaching out as like, hey, whoa, that's pretty cool. Like for instance, Tim Barton, right? He was the first interview I did. I had been looking at his work for a while, and then I saw like one day he was commenting under like he commented under like my cloud shader video or something. My like lighting turntable one, not the tutorial. I was like, oh damn, whoa.
Yeah.
But I did sort of get like chauffeured a bit into the spotlight when I did some work with Melody Sheep, because obviously like he's got a huge fucking channel, right? Like millions of subscribers and like millions of people see your work. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dude, one of my I saw a kid on my college campus. This was like a crazy story. He had on his lock screen a black hole image that I made.
No way.
And he didn't know it was me. I was like, Holy shit! Like the odds of that were like
That's crazy.
astronomically low.
That is,
It's
yeah,
like, I
that is
mean,
so awesome.
when you have a bunch of physics majors, they love black holes, so it's actually not
Yeah.
too surprising. But usually it's just gargantuan. But this time it was like, it was my black hole. You know, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
That is mind blowing. That's almost better than getting recognized in public. That is better than getting recognized in public.
Yeah,
Honestly, that's pretty cool. Just
That
like
is so
seeing your
cool.
own work out in public. That's definitely
yeah, it was certainly one of
a
the most
moment.
surreal experiences. It's like every
Hmm.
once in a while, like I've been following PBS Space Time, and it's like, let me show you.
Oh, and they use your images on there.
Like, I mean, look at this guy,
Oh.
There we go. Do they
right?
Wait, but
even
they didn't reach out to you though?
do they give you credit?
So this was a composite done by Vadim Sadovsky.
Hmm.
Um, so they probably reached out to him, but I gave him permission, so it's like
Ah,
sort of a chain. But I mean, it's still my black
okay.
hole. You can tell
Yeah.
because it's like a bit wider. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
but
dude.
like,
I don't fly with that. People using artists' work without credit.
Yeah.
yeah, it was a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit weird, but I mean, I'm of
Yeah,
course just more happy to see my stuff.
absolutely.
Like, it's pretty crazy when you just see your work just sort of go semi-viral, even if it's not connected to you really.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
that is pretty cool.
you
You
certainly
know, it's terrible.
you get a lot of eyes on your work, and you get a lot of helpful critique, and you also get a lot of free stuff.
Oh, you do?
You get a lot of free stuff because people are interested in you trying their stuff.
Mm.
For instance, oh, I'll tell you guys. I shared it with you earlier
But I have a question. Is
today.
that then like your motivation? Is it like all the things? Because what would you still be creating as much if like for example nobody showed as much interest? Like imagine you had like a 10 people audience, you know, like that kind of stuff.
I did art for
Imagine that.
years before I really posted it anywhere. So
Hmm.
I mean,
And like what
that's
kept you
always.
going? What kept you going at that point? Like was it just because I for sure notice more boosted like a boost in like my will to create more when I get when I got like more people viewing my work. I
Oh,
don't know, it
dude, for
sounds weird,
sure.
but
Yeah, I mean that's just more motivation. But I mean, I've always had that base motivation. Like I love what I
hmm,
do. It would have been a little bit sad to see if I like really tried to post stuff out there and I didn't really get recognition. But I
yeah,
mean, for the amount of effort I put in, like I don't really edit my videos that much. So obviously
yeah.
they aren't going to get as many views. But
But
like,
then again, like you put crazy amounts of effort and you're super unique. So like I think that like balances it out, I guess. Like
yeah, it does. But it's also like, I mean, you have somebody like, well, I mean, both of you guys, you've gained massive traction in the CG environment over like 2 videos, right?
Yeah.
facts, it's been 2 videos for both of us.
Yeah, Cub is
Yeah.
like twice my subscribers and like 4% of my videos. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think it's just, yeah.
it's just you design stuff for to get attention.
Hmm.
That sounds kind
Right.
of weird. You don't
No,
design
it's
stuff.
true. I mean,
It that's
it's
Yeah,
just a
that is
different
the
kind
thing.
of way to
Yeah.
yeah.
approach it.
It is definitely like for attention though. Like it's weird because it's
Hmm.
like everybody wants to pretend like art's like this in intrinsic thing always.
Hmm.
Um, but I definitely started thinking about it more and more as well because I saw like people posting on like the Blender Reddit and stuff that they kind of felt demotivated, and I also at some point I have quit uploading most of my work on the Reddit because the Reddit actually had a I don't know what happened, but the Blender Reddit, for example, it's kind of turned into where more like a certain type of artwork will get a lot of likes and also a lot of memes will get a lot of likes, but
Oh
then
yeah.
really good art
Yeah.
is left with like 6 likes and no comments or whatever. And I
Yeah.
saw more and more artists on that Reddit because that was like the only place where they got any traction. They were saying like how they were feeling like kind of demotivated and that kind of stuff because nobody was really, yeah, giving them
Yeah,
any
I mean,
attention.
the Blender subreddit is like not the place to post your art, really. That's just the
Yeah,
sad truth of it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'll let you guys answer the question your own ways, but like certainly it's neat to have people view your work and it's neat to see your stuff be in places where you didn't expect it to be.
hmm,
Like
Yeah.
that's sometimes the highlight of my day. Like I see a black
Yeah.
hole or a star or whatever just used in like B-roll of a video. It's like hell yeah. There's also
Yeah.
like one of the more
Yeah.
unexpected ones is like I saw one of my shots I did for Melody Sheet pop up in a Minecraft video. I was like, what the fuck? It was
Oof.
the I'm not sure if you've seen it. It went like pretty viral. It was the building the universe in Minecraft one.
Not
It was
No,
in
seen
there for like 5 frames. It was like, that's me.
it.
that's pretty cool though.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's certainly really
That is
rewarding.
cool.
But obviously not the main focus of my art. But yeah,
Yeah.
you guys can go.
I think for me, I'm kind of similar where I had been posting on ArtStation,
Mhm.
and I did it without thinking that anyone would look at it. I was just like, I'll just start throwing my stuff up there. And I didn't really think about it for a while. And I think that's the best way to approach it, is to not have any expectations. Um, and then ArtStation became the place where like I actually started to build a little bit of a following, and people were recognizing me and stuff. And it was unexpected, and it was like, oh, cool, okay, this is great. I kind of fell into this.
Mhm.
But before I had anyone looking at any of my stuff, it was really just I was so obsessed with the people that were creating amazing art, and I wanted it so bad that I don't think I cared if anyone saw it. I wanted to know to myself that I could do it. Um, so yeah, I think it's just about lowering your expectations,
Yeah.
and not seeking that validation.
I like
Um,
I think I
yeah,
I think I'd put it as don't lower your ambitions, but do lower your expectations.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good way of putting it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, okay, that's definitely it. I think for me, what I eventually, because I felt the same. I've had spurts of like motivation in 3D, and I create a lot, and I've also had moments where like I barely created and I didn't really feel like creating. But I
Yeah,
definitely think it's definitely like a, of course it's on your own time. Some people will have more drive, and will just be creating every day, all day, for years,
Mhm.
and that's
yeah,
just who they are.
That's called
But what
unemployment.
yeah, exactly. But like that's the thing. If I saw a lot, like I think I answered one of these people, and that's like, if you really don't feel the motivation to create, it's not necessarily like the fault of your work not gaining traction, or your work this and that. It's more
Mhm.
just like, and it like you should probably try some other stuff as well. Like that's what I did. Like I went into photography again. Like I picked it up again after I already got into Blender, and actually like got me a lot like inspired to do 3D scenes and stuff afterwards. So like diversifying.
For
And I
yeah.
sure.
actually wonder if you guys have ever like, do you guys only have 3D experience, or you guys have also got like photography or hobby or kind of that kind of stuff?
So I used to do 2D. Funny story, that's how I
Mm,
got into Blender. I love to draw trees. So
yeah,
I saw a tree tutorial in Blender. I was like, fuck yeah, now I can like make pine trees in 3D.
yeah.
That was the first tutorial I ever watched in Blender. That was like 3 months before I really picked it up and like
Hmm.
downloaded it. But I mean, that was the first time I really saw it.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
really though, sorry, I'll let you go in a second. I think
no, you're good.
there's enough sub disciplines in 3D that you can always keep yourself interested. Obviously, I have my node stuff, but then I also am doing a lot of hard surface stuff right now. That's been really engaging because uh, yeah, I'm still learning some stuff about that, but I'm at the
Yeah,
point where I'm
that
getting
is a
some.
really neat thing about 3D.
There's so much to learn, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like going into painting. You could do oil, or you could do, whatever. I don't paint, but um, oil. That's all I know. Oil. And there's different disciplines within that. But yeah, it's the same as 3D. For me, I did like a little bit of photography, but not really much, not really much art before that. 3D is kind of the first thing that I'm like actually feel proud about in terms of a profession and a hobby and a discipline.
hmm,
I guess is kind of my first thing.
for sure.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's also with 3D, I guess, a good blessing that like there's so much like you can just tackle. It's endless fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm also reading the comments just now. Somebody said
Yeah.
the
Let,
jackamorphic anamorphic cameras on Blender
I've
Market hold up.
I have
I will
one
buy
more
this.
I have one more comment before you can talk about that. I think I've seen it. I'll have to check it out though. Really, yeah. So one of the more interesting things, I was worried a while back about running out of topics for videos because I thought I was exhausting my stuff. But then, like every time without fail, I'd always discover something new,
Mm.
Yeah.
and that just like it really like you always feel like you're teetering on the edge of like um I don't know like maxing out your tech tree if you know what I mean. But then you always
Oh
find
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something more, right?
No, I
Uh,
definitely have that too. Like, yeah, I think.
it's kind of like weightlifting in a way, right? Like
Hmm.
for instance, with this, I learned more about what I can do to improve this from switching to like an adjacent field, like what would be like
Mm.
an accessory if you're programming, right? With my Nebula, I learned how to increase the volume or whatever, like
Hmm.
absorption detail and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That was a trick I discovered through the Nebula. Yeah, it's like now I can use that for the clouds. I didn't even think of
For
that
sure.
before, right? And you learn
Yeah.
that in all fields of 3D. But yeah, anyways,
Yeah.
back to the anamorphic cameras. I have not seen it. By
Dude,
the way,
honestly.
you guys can share your screens too. I should have mentioned that before if you want to
Oh.
check stuff out, and I'll just watch it
Um,
if you guys want to.
I can share. I mean, I have it open right now.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'm interested in it.
I think I can only share if you don't share. I don't know. It's like it has like a little forbidden icon.
Let me just look it up. Jackamorphic.
Yeah. This is actually like I already have like William Langren's like what do you call it? Like his like little
Is this?
what is
He
it?
does like a bokeh
Yeah,
thing, like a
bokeh thing. Yeah,
depth of field thing. Yeah.
yeah. No, that's a really nice add-on. They always give me like super interesting like bokeh, which I always love.
He's like
Yeah.
16 as well, which is the funniest thing.
Dude, that yeah, exactly. That kid's a legend, like
Yeah.
straight up.
I used to
The-
be active on his voice chats in his server.
What is that a flex? I don't know.
It's not really a flex. I'm just saying I've talked with
Oh,
him a little bit. I used
okay,
to.
sorry.
I was like a quote unquote mod in his server, but I didn't send a message for like 3 months,
Damn,
so I got
probably
booted off.
wondering. Oh,
I
I
just
don't know.
I
I
was
never like I like saw him like at first though like he really looked like Ian Hubert esque, and then like when he found his own like style, I guess like that was so cool. I remember his latest video or his latest animation. It was like that blew me out of just like blew up my brain just because it's so well directed and like
Mhm.
so immersive and like yeah engaging. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kid's like actually a prodigy or something because
Yeah.
he's not only good at 3D, he's also like an amazing director and like writer of whatever like stories.
Yeah, he's
So
what I'd call a compositional artist.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah, for sure. I mean,
I mean,
he's
if
not technical like as you are. Like
yeah,
he
like if
does a lot of the Ian Hubert stuff, right? Like
yeah,
messing
it's
around.
very hacky and
Hmm.
I was gonna say like ill put together, but no, it's
I mean,
complete. It always fits together, but it's just
I
it's
mean,
a sort
Like a
of
that's fair to say though.
collage.
It
yeah.
really is fair to say because like that's how I work too, and people don't really know. I think that's why I was like hesitant to like show people my workflow because like I was like, this is so unprofessional because I really just go for the image.
Mhm.
Um, for all I care, like I'm using like 6 different planes that I'm scattering on, and like just who cares? You can't see it because there's trees on there. I don't give a fuck if
Yeah.
it's like ugly. Um, my
Yeah.
mountains are floating, this and that. It's all like
Yeah.
messed up.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I mean,
it's
Willie's he's a fucking madman. I talked
yeah.
to Unknown Dino a couple weeks
Mm,
back. Probably one of you might have seen his
yeah, yeah. I know his stuff.
stream.
Yep.
He's I asked him this question because Willie came up in the discussion. It was like I asked him a question like, do you consider yourself a compositional artist or an asset artist? And I think
Mm,
Dino is like one of the to me, he's like one of the most impressive Blender artists because he's just his range of skills is so high.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
I
But
mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
his
he
animation for the Punisher
endless,
thing was just
yeah.
ridiculous.
have you
It
seen
should
his
have won, in my opinion.
same, yeah. Have you seen his animation for Melody Sheep?
I checked out his stuff. I don't remember exactly what it is though.
It was the one with the planetary shield thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
and like
was,
where the little creature gets sucked up.
yeah, right. That's an example of somebody who's both like an asset artist and a compositional artist,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
that's wild
Yeah.
to me.
Because that, I mean, that obviously probably took quite a bit longer than a lot of release shots. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, both have their strengths, right?
I think with William, I mean, he makes amazing assets, but it's a lot of the greeble kit bashing
Mm-hmm.
stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
which I think is really cool too. But I think his major skill is the yeah, how do you say it, like the compositing, but like he has this like robot that's like in a pool, like just on
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
floaty or
That was a
something.
nutty
That is
animation.
like that shot is so like just like cinematic. It's dumb to say, but like just cinematic.
Yeah,
And
he is
that's
certainly one of the greatest Blender artists I think out there right now.
yeah,
It's just it's very
100%.
interesting to see how it all comes together a lot later than you might expect for a lot of Blender artists. Like for instance, you saw the Raptor engine, right? That Eisen was working on. That's something that like you that's a standalone asset that works fairly well. If you saw like a standalone asset in one of Willie's things, it might look it might look a little bit weird, right?
I bought some of his buildings and like I was like, damn.
Yeah, like
It's
that's where the magic happens, right? Is putting
yeah,
it all together.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
Yeah.
just it's a completely different workflow, and it's equally as impressive because I can't do it. I've got to work for months on assets because I don't have the sense about me for that stuff. But I can create cool assets though, right?
Yeah, no, I mean
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
It's just where you
I've
choose
seen your
to
heart.
develop your.
Ooh, I
Uh,
see somebody in the chat.
yeah,
Are you guys
we are
talking about
talking
unknown?
about we
We
are talking
are.
about unknown dino.
Is there an issue? But yeah, no, I mean, I get like that, and like I was wondering, where do you guys see yourself more on that spectrum? Because I mean, you just said like you take a lot of time into your assets and stuff, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I feel like Sam, like your shots are like so impressive, like visually,
I mean, I know where
and
to
like,
point a camera, but that's pretty much all of it. Like in
but the
this,
lighting is also just like so good. Right
the
here,
I
for
think you
example,
mean
with the shadow,
I think you mean the shading.
or yeah, shading, lighting, yeah, shading.
Yeah, because the light I literally just stick on a sun. I just stick it to a sun lamp and then just rotate it around to something that
Yeah.
looks neat. It's just all about where you position the camera, and then obviously I reorient the cloud textures a bit.
Then that's so wild because, like, for example, for me, my assets look bad until I light them correctly. But for you, your assets look so amazing that you just put a light down and it looks good. You're like, nice.
Yeah, that's always a tough thing to manage because you work on an asset and then it just looks like crap, and then you get the nice lighting and it's like, oh, it works. But then some assets are just immediately look great with any lighting.
Mm,
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
well,
tough.
I want to like sort of show you because it's very difficult for these sorts of plants to get the
mm,
shading to be consistent everywhere.
mm.
But especially like the indirect light. Like it looks
Yeah.
pretty good at the sunset, but I struggled for the longest time to get it to look good in like more daylight
Oh,
scenarios.
but that's like
Yeah, yeah.
everything though, right? Like hard daylight is like the worst lighting to like get right.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I'm getting there though, right? Like this is pretty
Yeah.
cool. It's a little bit difficult. It
Yeah, for
looks a little
sure.
weird because of all the rings and such.
Mm-hmm.
Go to my
No,
YouTube.
I mean that's just also like common film like skill, like if you want a really cinematic shot, you're not going to film it at like 12 in the afternoon, when the sun is like at its highest. That's just not a cinematic lighting setup.
Yep.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's something like I've also really been trying to conquer, like in my latest like renders and stuff, and I'm also right now working on a project where I'm deliberately doing like a daylight, sun in the sky, nice bright blue sky shot.
Yeah.
So I like really limit myself.
I don't know if you saw one of Aaron's new desert shots on
Yeah.
ArtStation, but it's like just the sun is just directly onto the asset, but it still looks insane.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to, like to that kind of level. Because
Yeah.
I feel like for the longest time I've used lighting to, of course, I have like a decent knowledge of lighting, and then like I use that to hide all my mistakes. But I'm like, enough's enough. It's time to face down my enemy and actually deal with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's an
For
old
sure.
planet shooter I made that renders like absurdly quickly.
Oh, this is badass.
The light still looks so good. That's like, is that procedural or textured?
Textured.
Oh, that looks so sick. That shot is amazing.
That is so nice.
I haven't seen this.
Yeah, this was a while ago. This one was like,
Oh my god.
it was only real. It was almost real time.
Yeah.
So
I want a spaceship flying through this.
Yeah.
I'm like getting dizzy.
I mean, Jared's used this in a few shots of his.
Yeah, I just did an animation with it.
Oh hey.
Oh shit. Oh yeah, what's up, Jared?
Hey guys,
Oh god.
How are you doing, man?
What's up?
how's it going?
Yeah, but this is
so cool.
This is one of my first experience. This was all done in the world shader, by the way. So that's a trick.
Damn.
Yeah, it's got some rings and such.
Damn, you could make that new Universal logo animation. Let's go.
Yeah.
With the harsh sunlight thing, do you guys feel like you struggle to get the white balance of the light right too? Like,
Oh, by the way,
I
here's
feel
the
like
performance.
I always
Yeah.
fail to get like the quality of sunlight correct in daytime. It always comes out either like too yellow or like it doesn't have the right like
Yeah,
bounce
too
lighting
pink
from the
or
sky. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that of course always depends on what you. I mean, if you're doing HDR lighting, I for the longest time like didn't use HDRs because they were giving me like just shitty lighting. So I used like the Nishida sky texture, just straight up. And like the Nishida sky texture definitely has like a tint of yellow. You have to really play around with it to get like some nice like white and blue lighting, basically.
Yeah.
But recently, I don't know why I never used this. It's called Easy HDRI. It's like a free add-on that everybody uses. But
Yeah,
I use it now with I don't know, remember if it's like Pro Lighting Skies or some other HDRI pack that I have. And when I turn the sun value up to like 150 on one of those HDRIs, then all of a sudden it just looks like really nice bright daylight out of the box.
Interesting.
So that's
cool.
why, for my next project, I'm doing a whole tutorial on this. I'm just gonna break it down. It's like I think I got it down, and then I'm also gonna use like the clouds that Sam with the shader, like the nice daylight clouds.
I'll send
So
you a
we're gonna
couple
see how that looks.
procedural ones when I make them.
I mean, I have these Houdini generated ones that are like really nice. They're like huge cloudscapes with all the little details, and I'm like super excited to actually use your shader like on them.
Yeah, hopefully it looks
That's
good.
gonna, it's definitely gonna look great because it's like made for daylight.
I'm excited to get into the shader too because I'm really like itching to do a new big mountain environment, and I want to have like usually I just have the HDRI with the clouds, but I want real clouds in there, so I'm excited to use that shader.
For sure.
It's gonna be competition.
I don't think you're ever gonna reach like the real cloud level, unless I manage to cook up something really fancy with procedurals. Just because the real clouds they integrate so well into the environment, it's just like it's crazy.
I mean, the ones I bought a pack. I don't know where I got it, but I bought this pack and it's made in Houdini, but it's like these huge, super complex open VDBs. I mean, they're like 10 kilometers big when you import them into Blender. So like you always have to scale them down by a bunch. But they are really nice because they have this, like, in real life, how clouds, you have this new cloud pack that like sells all these little individual puffs. But that's not really how clouds look, of course. They have these huge, like, big clouds followed by some smaller ones with like lines in them or, different shapes.
Yeah.
Depending on like the temperature and whatever. And this pack actually has that, so that's why I'm so excited to use it because I'm like, I'm gonna see what these photorealistic OpenVDBs together with like a good shader actually are gonna look like.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
that was like my main issue always. Like the clouds just look like smoke, you know?
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Also, it's getting a tad late on my side,
Yeah, I gotta
and I'm
head to dinner
starving.
pretty soon. So,
So,
same here. It's like past
Do you-
midnight.
yeah, do you guys want to cut it off here? I think this is probably a good stopping point.
Yeah, unless there's any questions, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess
we all covered
final
it, right?
final call for questions.
from the 10 viewers, questions
Let's-
now. Anything.
Actually,
What's,
there's
Let's go.
what's in my
12.
bank? My bank account number, credit card number.
Yeah, can I
Anything.
get your mother's maiden name and the last 4 digits of your social, please?
Yes, sir. Anything, guys. You're missing out if you're not asking.
yeah, this was super fun. It's awesome to chat with you guys. I'd love to do this like more often.
Dude, same.
Yeah, no, honestly,
This
I
could
want
be
to
like
break
a-
down some other topics for sure.
This is gonna be
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
weekly podcast. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Maybe we
do a
should just,
podcast.
yeah, something like that.
that'd be super fun.
Involve a few beers, and then
I ain't
Get-
old
get the
enough to
cracking.
drink.
oh,
Yeah, this is an
He's
America
a
moment.
child.
I'm not a child, but I'm like not,
sure somebody will
an
buy you.
adult.
Wait, you're not
Also-
old enough to drink?
No, I'm 18, man.
You're 18?
Yep.
It's wait, damn, you're 18. You're already doing these massive ass fucking
Jesus
like, projects.
Christ.
Wait, how old are you, Kev?
I'm 21.
21. Oh, you guys
My-
are all so young.
I'm 22. Damn.
I'm not gonna disclose my age.
All good.
50.
You guys are gonna make
No.
me old. Or make me feel
55.
old. I'm not
We
that.
already knew. Okay, well, guys, we have a
That's
question.
crazy though. I didn't know you were 18. I mean, like, age doesn't matter, but that's really
Yeah.
cool.
We have a question, by the way. Do you guys have any advice for content creation for a newbie who doesn't want to get caught in the tutorial cycle? I wanted to start content creation, but it seems pretty saturated. I do.
I'm gonna leave that to
So-
you guys because I'm not the greatest example for that.
Yeah,
I-
don't either.
It's funny because like I actually had a YouTube channel that was. I'm never ever gonna tell anybody about this, by the way. So nobody's getting the name. But I actually had a YouTube channel that was like decently big, doing like other stuff like games or like meme stuff. And honestly, that was for the longest time my out as a creator. Like that's where I got my satisfaction from. Because I was, even though it's a joke edit, for example, it was
Wait,
still
how
a
big
really
are we
good
talking?
edit. Like a little bigger than your channel. I mean, it's not huge, but like I just gave that up. I just quit it. Yeah, so I'm not like some millionaire or anything. But no, I'm just saying like there's this like people always feel like you need to make serious content, and I think I kind of fell into that too now with the tutorial stuff like around 3D. But like you can definitely use these skills of editing and like 3D as well. You can use those skills to create just whatever entertaining content. You can, for all I care, you can create meme videos, and especially as a newbie or somebody who's like not as let's say professional, you're able to create these photoreal environments and that kind of stuff. A more entertaining approach to creating is often better because then of course people won't judge your work harshly on like, oh, it doesn't look photoreal or this and that. So yeah,
Yeah.
recommend looking into the entertaining route. Look at all the possibilities out there if you want to create, and you don't
Yeah.
want tutorials.
I think the way that I went with it, because I didn't want to get caught in that tutorial cycle either. And so I'm kind of in my videos, I stray from getting into the details of like how to do things, and I'm more looking at big picture, like how does this project actually come together, and kind of making it more entertaining and exciting in that way. And as long as you're making projects, like I assume you're a 3D artist and stuff. So as long as you're making projects and you approach it from kind of the inspiration side and the big picture side, I think you can stray from like that tutorial cycle that you're talking about.
Oh, we might be understanding this person wrong too, though, because they're saying I mean tutorial cycle as in all the newbies who only watch tutorials and don't output anything. Yeah, that's a different answer there. I would say like I watch tutorials as entertainment. Like I literally just watch tutorials just on like Coving's channel. Like I literally love, I mean, he just said it, like I love how he does his tutorials because it's entertainment first and like, education is in there, but it's mostly like the journey of getting there and the feelings, blah 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 blah. But yeah, like if you want your projects and that kind of stuff, I recommend don't follow tutorials step by step and just create the exact same thing as the tutorial maker. Like watch tutorials and just like watch it because you kind of get like familiar with the UI of Blender. It's kind of like watching a video in a certain language to get familiar with the language while you're learning it, and then make your own projects. Like literally just don't follow any tutorials for projects, just make your own stuff. And you can, of course, in case you want to add trees to your scene, watch a tutorial on trees, but like don't get into that trap where your output is only what the tutorials are creating.
Yeah, for sure.
Tutorials are an add-on.
My advice with that is come up with the scene you want to create first. Like find inspiration, come up with like a vague composition or something in your head, and then watch a tutorial that will teach you how to achieve what you're trying to make, rather than watch a tutorial to make the thing in the tutorial.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah,
I
that's
started, I
smart.
was watching like a bunch of Blender Guru stuff and whoever else was making tutorials at the time. And for me, it was always, I want to do this scene. Let me go find a tutorial that'll like show me the techniques I need to make that. And then I would make my own composition, my own like creative decisions rather than click by click follow the tutorial. And I'm using them to teach me how to like sculpt a landscape or like blend rocks into the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely better way to learn, and you're future proofing yourself because like ultimately we're always making scenes that someone doesn't have a tutorial on, and like even if you're 4 years into 3D and you're built on this system of only creating what other people have created, then you're gonna find yourself just like, oh, I don't know how to I don't know how to do anything. So for sure the technique rather than the replication.
I think pretty much all of us did that, right? Where we started creating and like we probably jumped into the deep end a little bit, like where you get into situations where you don't know how to do something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then
like,
my advice for breaking out of the tutorial loop is actually kind of weird, but I think everybody has a different way of doing it. So what I did to try and get myself out of tutorials, it's been a while, so I'm going to try and recount this as best I can. I remember trying to make stuff that was intentionally absurd. Like it was like bad in like the worst possible way. Like just bad. I wasn't even trying to do anything. But the point of it was that I don't, dude, I've changed computers like 3 times. I don't have any of them.
Erased from the face of the earth.
Yeah. It wasn't even like trying to make anything with a specific goal. It was just trying to make anything without a tutorial.
Yeah.
And then you slowly build up to working with inspirations and references and all that other stuff. It's just it's a process that takes time, right?
Yeah.
But you learn to like experiment with like the basics. And that makes learning stuff like other softwares like a lot easier. Like I'm not having any difficulty with Houdini, and I don't really have to use that many tutorials, given I've only just really started. But that's because I've familiarized myself with playing with the absolute basics, literally just adding add nodes together.
Yeah.
And from there you build up your entire like skill set, man.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. I think that's basically the main answer. It's just, at the same time of like tutorials are good, I guess, because they can get you into the basics. You should never get stuck with them because at the end of the day, like exploring yourself is definitely the main way to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that kind of all of these share a little bit is like you should always be the creative force behind your projects.
Precisely.
And that's how you be an artist rather than somebody just churning out content,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, as Beckett says, yes, it's very hard stepping out there, and your work is going to look like shit in the beginning. I mean, I sure do know how bad my work is. I mean, I'm probably going to post on my channel, my very first Blender render so everybody can laugh at it.
I think that's actually a
Because
really solid idea for a video. Just your
On,
yeah.
on that
first.
note, do you guys feel like beginners are getting like better faster now? Like I look at people and they're like, I've been doing Blender for like 2 months, and I was like, man, it took me 2 years to get as good as this. Like, what was I doing wrong?
I think this might be a controversial take. I think beginners are getting more entitled to their tutorials.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of techniques that were developed in the last few years and a lot of advances in the software
Mm.
yeah.
of Blender that made it really easy to get really good results. Like Ian Hubert's stuff, it's not beginner friendly, but it's like beginner friendly in the sense that after
I
a
get what you
couple,
mean. Yeah.
like you get the process really easily, right?
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
you have
yeah.
some people that have maybe some experience in other art and stuff, and they're playing around with it. And you do get people that are making good stuff in months or even weeks.
Mhm.
But also you have to recognize, like back in my day, um, I mean, I only started like four something years ago. But back then, I mean, the Blender community was significantly less developed than
Yeah.
it is now. All right, so we had to figure ourselves out. And Maarten, I know you started like even earlier than that.
Blender Guru was like the only guy who ever did anything Blender related when I
Yeah,
started.
yeah. You got a
Yeah,
bunch
that's
of
kind of what I
Blender
mean. Is I feel
Guru
like
clones.
tutorials and stuff were just, or like even the software, like pre 2.8, like I feel like beginners now they're able to just jump in and make things with like way less effort than we had to put in, and it looks like twice as good because
I mean,
there's just so much
yeah,
development in the software, and like tutorials are so much better. And
I
Yeah.
get that, but like for example, with like my texturing of like the environment tutorial stuff, like I went pretty step to step, but not every step, but like I went pretty in depth. So basically, anybody with a fairly basic skill set in Blender could follow along, and that's the thing. Like it took me 2 years to get to that point of texturing a mountain like that, and
yeah,
I'm still learning. I'm still getting better, but it took me 2 years to finally crack that code, and now it's 1 hour for the next person to watch that. And look,
yeah,
um, of course they can make amazing renders, but at the same time, I feel like that 2 years of me learning, if anybody comes at me now, like a client says, "Oh, I want this done," I can confidently be like, "Okay," in my head, I'm like, "I don't know how to do this yet, but I can figure it out in this time frame." Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I want to
So,
touch on some stuff in the chat, and that's age. Like I mentioned, I was 18. Some of y'all didn't know that, and you guys went a bit wild. But I do really want to emphasize that it doesn't actually mean a whole lot. Your brain is very plastic at young ages, so it's pretty easier. It's a lot easier to learn when you're younger, right?
mhm.
So saying you're 14 and you're already doing something good, that's not really a flex because you're actually kind of advantaged from being young.
Fair. I want to see like 90-year-old Blender artists.
Yeah, that would be
So,
crazy, right? Because it's actually like
yeah.
difficult to pick it up
Yeah,
at that
that's
age.
true.
So that's something like it's always really neat to see young people doing it, but I used to fall into the trap of like putting my age in front of everything. I still do that sometimes. Just because
I've
it's just
noticed
fun.
that.
I
Like,
do that too. I need
Right?
to stop.
I've seen that. Like, that is definitely something.
I mean, once you turn once you turn 18, nobody really cares. I mean, obviously everybody cares to some degree, but like it's just sort of this wow feeling. All it really
I
means
think
is
that's
that
a
I got started younger, right? But yeah, people need to stop one, paying so much attention to that, and two, um, feeling insecure about it.
yeah.
I think
Yeah, I agree.
I mean there are a lot of people I still look up to that are younger than me. I mean,
Yeah.
William Langren's one of them. We were
But like,
talking about
I
him.
think that's the source, my guy. Like, honestly, where all this like focus in the Blender community about like really young people achieving great renders or great work,
I mean,
it's like started with like William. Like, no hate to him, of course, but it's like when he did it, everybody
Get him.
seemed more get him.
No,
Everybody
I don't
seemed
actually
more
think
focused
I don't actually
on
think it
his
started with
age.
him. I think it actually started with
Yeah.
Nugget. Do
I
you
have
guys
no
know
idea
who
what it
Nugget
is.
is?
I don't know who Nugget
At
is.
least it started in the node space. Maybe it was.
Oh,
Really.
okay.
He's a guy who's like 16. And he's already
Yeah.
he's like the Ray Marcher in Blender.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it depends, but
I think it's a
definitely
little bit of
recent.
a thing with like any field though. Like whenever you have
Yeah.
a
I
couple
used to
people
be
doing
a
cool stuff, people
I
suddenly go, "Wow, they're gonna go like so much further or whatever." When a
yeah
lot of times they just started earlier, so it's like you have 2 years at 18, and
Exactly.
everybody's way more impressed with what you're doing than if you have 2 years at like 25.
yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be a competitive speed cuber, like solving Rubik's cubes back when I was really young.
Oh, that's cool.
And every time you'd see like a fucking 7-year-old averaging 8 seconds on Rubik's cube, and it would, like everybody would be like, "Holy shit!" And then you realize they've probably been doing it since they're 2, and their brain probably, if they took an MRI of their brain, it'd probably be a Rubik's cube. That's the
They
secret.
can read like four words, but they can solve a Rubik's cube. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's how everybody should gauge themselves, is like we often compare one part of ourselves to something we see from somebody else. So I compare my art to, like, Aaron. But the thing is, I have, so many experiences as a person that, like, completely different stuff. Like I'm talking completely out of the realm of art and stuff that I can be proud of. And that might have been in the way of me becoming a prodigy of something, in Blender. But I mean, those are still valuable experiences that make me, who I am. So I know it can be like, you see somebody creating good renders and you're kind of like, damn, I'm not that good yet. But you can also just be like, okay, but maybe, they suck at presenting and I am really good at presenting. So, like, again, you should never really compare yourself like that to anybody.
For sure.
And always just focus on yourself. And
I think we should wrap this up, but I do want to say one final thing. I remember, I still do this, I think everybody does this. When you're finding your references and your inspirations, it's usually like you're trying to copy them exactly, or at least that was what it was for me, right? You're trying to replicate almost everything. Maybe you're willing to give it a little bit of deviation. And when you aren't able to do that, it can be very discouraging. But a lot of the times when I'm looking back at my old work and I know what I was referencing, I find sometimes I think my old work looks even better than the references. But at the time I was really discouraged because I just couldn't match the look, right? But it's the understanding that everybody has their own look, and that it's sometimes just impossible because half of art is just luck, almost, right?
Yeah.
Just which path, which ideas happen to pop into your brain. So it's important to understand, just as artists, if you can't replicate the look exactly, understand that that's not really your job and that you shouldn't really feel bad about it. Because I spent a long time feeling bad about my stuff because I wasn't able to replicate other people's looks. And only like recently I figured, oh, hey, I'm actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. And other people look at your work and try to replicate it and they don't get the look, and it's just kind of, absolutely. I feel the same.
I think I'm walking away with this, with learning something else just now. Damn. That's a good way of saying it. A really good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we cut it off now. Cut it off now. We've set the group.
Yeah, man.
Well,
we really peaked.
Yeah, really. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I think that's a good note to end it on. It was really fun for all of us.
Thanks for
this has been really, really fun.
We need to come up with like a sign off, like a outro for these.
Yeah,
we do.
We can figure that out for next time. For now, I need some dinner. We've been at this for like 2.5 hours.
All right, bye guys. I need dinner.
Yeah, this is a certified Sam moment. All right, I'm going to cut